High vaults through these veins, trouble is all.
Welcome, race fans, for the 11th running of the Homeplace Brewing Company Daytona 500 for the Elite Racing Network. My name is David Westergreen. I am joined, as always, by David Huckleberry, our wonderful producer, and joining us again, we thought he was gone. He's back. Gerald Campbell will be with me in the booth this Daytona 500. We are going to run 500 miles this evening at a the greatest motorsports track on the planet. We've got Belly Up Sports on the cover for the Cup Series for this season once again. And lovely to have them back. I'm gonna bring Gerald in here. Gerald, it's been a long time, as in like one race technically, but you've been through this Speed Weeks already. We covered you pretty extensively during the Clash and during the duels. What are these drivers gonna encounter over 500 miles here tonight?
Well, I guess you can keep me out of the race, but you can't keep me out of the show. I'm here for the Daytona 500. So exciting, so much nerves on the line. These guys have a long race ahead of them, hours to determine how they're going to be able to set themselves up for the win. They're not looking at points, they're looking at one thing: becoming a Daytona 500 champion here tonight. And I'm all for it. This is our pinnacle of racing, both in real life as well as here in the Elite Series. No other win matters more than this one.
All right, you are, Gerald, and obviously you spent all week trying to get in there into this race. Fortunately for us, you missed out, but fortunately for fortunately for these drivers too, because you would have been one of the favorites. I think you were really fast in all our races this week. With that, I want to bring in our pole sitter, Ethan Burrell, really quick to start here. And Ethan, congratulations on the pole. Congratulations on the dual one win. In one sentence, what's it going to take to win this Daytona 500?
It is going to take some skill, a whole bunch of luck, and some guts.
You heard it first from Ethan Burrell, the pole sitter. Good luck down there leading him to green tonight, Ethan. And, we'll see you hopefully after this race in Victory Lane.
Yeah, let's get it.
Now we'll also bring in last year's defending champion, Matthew Weeks, and we'll let Gerald give Weeks one question here.
Matthew, you were able to get the race win last year for the Daytona 500, multiple time winner. What does it take for you to come into tonight, go back to back, something that is so difficult, knowing that all 43 drivers here tonight have a chance at being able to become a winner? How do you become a back to back Daytona 500 champion?
I'm gonna have to survive since I'm starting way back in the field after the duels. So it's just gonna be about survive, pick my moves at the right time, and be there at the end. But I have the confidence enough in this car at these tracks that I know I can get it done. So that's what we're here to do.
Just make sure you put on a show for everyone here watching tonight. We look forward to seeing how you battle for the next few hours.
Definitely, I'll be up there by lap 80 to 100.
Alrighty, that's Matthew Weeks.
That's perfect. All right. Well, with that, with Matthew Weeks, the defending champion and the defending champion of this race, giving his thoughts on this race. Gerald, one thing that's going to take into account is that these guys have stages and points to think about now. We awarded points at the end of the dual races on last Wednesday, but now there are stages at lap 65 and lap 130, and then obviously we'll go to the end from there. But these guys are going to have to think about those points and those stages. I think they're kind of right at that second fuel window. So there's going to be some strategy decisions to be made, and guys are going to get to start thinking about points in that championship for the first time here early in this race.
Yeah, I said that points don't really matter when you come to the Daytona 500. It still does. Points still do very much matter here in the Elite Series because we don't have a 36 race schedule. We only have about 20 to 18 races depending on the schedule of the season. And so those points do matter here, and those stage points are going to go towards effect here. You get them in early, and then maybe you don't have to worry about points so much when you're racing for a win, because some of those guys like Matthew Weeks that's waiting until lap 80 to try to make his way up to the front, if he doesn't score stage points in stage 1 or 2, and he goes and he gets involved in the wreck at the end of the race, well, then he's going to be really starting off in the wrong foot for the rest of the season. So we say points don't matter, but there is going to be a lot of heavy racing coming around those stage ends. So we're going to look forward to seeing how that all plays out.
We sure will. So with that, we'll throw it over to, I believe it's Dusty Dewar for the national anthem.
Hey, what's up, everyone? This is John from Homeplace Brewing Company. Just wanted to reach out and say thank you guys so much for your partnership over the past few years and all the support. We're really excited about the season you guys are about to have. And just one last thing.
Gentlemen, start your engine!
And with that, the drivers have fired their engines on pit road, and we are getting ready for 200 laps around Daytona International Speedway. And now we can, I think, kind of get into the starting grid here. These guys have several laps to get ready for this thing, and we're looking at the front row right there. So the pole sitter Ethan Burrell and second place Tyler Fody. Those are also your dual winners from this last week. And as these guys get ready to roll off onto the racetrack, we will get ready for the starting grid. I think they have another minute and a half here to get rolling. So, Gerald, anybody you're surprised about their dual results? I know a few guys weren't there, like Scott Crump and a few others, but anybody who ran differently, especially in the dual race you ran, that you were kind of expecting to be a little stronger?
That's hard to say because again, it was I was in the driver's seat, so I wasn't really looking at much people other than the ones I had to race up against. I guess it was just so hard to tell who is strong because in this race with the draft package, it's anybody's game this season. It's really hard to stay up at the front unless if you're putting on massive blocks. So I guess the question is, who is going to be a dominant car in a race that's hard to stay at the front?
Another good one for you then is, who did you want to see in your mirror? What was one of those drivers that was
The rest of the field.
everybody else?
It didn't happen. I got put in the trash chute coming out of the last lap, and that is one thing I love, that the pace car Corvette starting dead last, but that's our pace car, folks, right there in the Corvette. Once we get going, we'll take the field. A beautiful Corvette, gonna be leading us off of pit road. But yeah, one thing that I did see was you can go from first to dead last in a period of 5 seconds, and so. It's one of those things that you are looking in your mirror because you do not want to be taken advantage of, and these guys are all professionals at being able to do that, as you see the Corvette start to make its way to the front of the field.
And we are rolling here for the 500. Ethan Burrell, the pole sitter, taking a second to get going, but we are on track. I believe 4 pace laps will be the amount we need to get this all ready to go, and with that, we'll start looking at that starting grid here and watch that pace car pick up the second group. Obviously, the iRacing pace car will hold our first group of about 20 cars or so, and then the second pace car, driven by Ethan Resiner, will pick up the second group, including Chad Frankenfield right there, Michael Goodman, numbers 15 and 44.
Should we do the video first, or should we do?
Yes.
So there, we get, this is obviously the biggest event of the season, and these drivers have a lot of fans out there. We've gotten shout outs from a few of them. Here's one of them that sent in a video rooting for one of our racers here tonight, and that'd be Chad Frankenfield. Let's go to the clip real quick.
Good luck!
Good luck!
On the Daytona!
On the Daytona!
500 Chad!
500 shot! Wow!
Wow! Sabe do sus?
Which Gerald, which driver sent that in?
It was a fan submission, and Chad's obviously a compelling driver in this race. For good or for bad, he's definitely going to be a storyline here tonight. I'm glad that we've got some huge fans out there of Chad, and we all are in some way, shape, or form gonna mention his name tonight. But it's good to get it started off early here to get the momentum going.
Yeah, for sure. With that, let's look at our starting grid already on your screen. Ethan Burrell won the pole last Wednesday before the dual races. Tyler Fody ran second in that qualifying session. They both won their dual races. So third place, David Tooker. Fourth place, Nick Massey. They were the runners-up in the duels last week. Tooker obviously pushing both of them nearly won those races, but very slim margins of victory in both dual races for Ethan Burrell and Tyler Fody. Starting fifth will be Trey Holmes, very close to winning in his last Daytona race here in April or so, and Ethan Stanley will start sixth, nearly won on Monday. A couple of guys who've been very close to winning at this track, but have come up just short and should be very strong tonight. Starting seventh is Richie Hearn, a rookie to some degree in this Elite Cup Series, and starting eighth is three-time champion Tate Lytle. Starting ninth is Nick Indelicato, and starting 10th will be Jesse Racimus, who is the defending winner of the last Daytona race we ran, the cutoff race to get into the playoffs last season. Chris Wright will start 11th. Corey Abbott will start in 12th in the Terry Labonte throwback car. Frank Fody will roll 13th, and Darren Staff will roll 14th in his first Daytona 500. Michael Hosack will roll 15th, and Andrew Rucker, Sonny D will roll from 16th. Joshua Personette and Kyle Hanshaw roll from 17th and 18th. Justin Fortner and Leighton Norgard, our winner on Monday in the Xfinity Series, goes from 19th and 20th. 21st will be Jonathan Cutlip. He's been strong all speed weeks, but came up just a little bit short in that duel this last Wednesday. Carlos Acosta made it in by one position, and will start 22nd in that second duel last Wednesday. Good run for Carlos. The aforementioned Chad Frankenfield will start 23rd, and he and his fan club will theoretically have something to cheer him on as he rolls from the mid-pack. Michael Goodman will start 24th. Ryan Schold will start in 25th, and Brent Jones goes from 26th. Jess Story will go 27th, and Justin Wadsworth, new to Lake Norman Motorsports, will start 28th. Mark Rabilas starts 29th, and now we've got the right number on that car. Justin Vandermarl will roll from 30th. Josh Robin goes from 31st after some unfortunate contact with Chad Frankenfield in the dual race. Christopher goes from 32nd. Johnny Thomas will roll 33rd. Johnny's going to be a little bit of a risk tonight. He's got some internet and electricity troubles. He's rolling from a generator tonight, so hopefully Johnny stays with us all night long. Joshua Clark goes from 34th. Defending champion Matthew Weeks, you already heard from him. He's also the defending race winner in this Daytona 500. He'll start from 35th tonight, and he's going to have, he said by lap 80 to 100, he'll be up at the front of the field. We'll see if it takes him shorter than that. Gavin Hibbs goes from 36th. And then rounding out the field, Ryan Gable, who wrecked with Matthew Weeks in the duel, he'll start 37th. Seth Rawls has run into some connection issues. He starts 38th. Jordan Owens is 39th, Scott Crump 40th, Jake Scarborough 41st, Dusty Dewar 42nd, and Ty McIntosh will start shotgun on the field in 43rd.
That is a lot of cars. There's going to be a lot to talk about. I am excited. There's, as we stated, a lot of Daytona 500 champions, a lot of race winners. Strong field this year. It's truly anybody's game from first all the way back to 43rd. It's up in the air. Coming off turn 4 to take the start of the season where the racing gets good and the good get racing. We're green flag for the Homeplace Beer 500 and the 11th running of the Daytona 500.
Ethan Burrell, Tyler Fody, the two dominant cars in that dual race. Well, they weren't dominant necessarily. They're off. This two-line cycle that we saw all through that dual race, where that middle is kind of the place you don't want to be. That's kind of going to go early here. And I talked to a lot of the drivers in this field right before this race, and a lot of them said, I'm going to try to be around at the end. I need to try to be around at the end. You can't win this race early. They wanted to hang back, wait for this thing to crash a few cars, cycle out a little bit. We'll see who's going to be aggressive early, who's going to be, timid early. But, I don't know if there's going to be a right answer necessarily. It seems like this pack will be a bit of a hornet's nest all the way back.
Well, one thing we know for certain, Ethan Burrell able to lead the first lap of the season. Now comes Tyler Fody to the outside with some helps from some Chevy teammates behind him. He's going to have Nick Massey right behind him and his teammate there, a former Final Four contender, Ethan Stanley, running in that outside lane as well. So you're going to see some teammates, some Toyota and some Chevy manufacturer teaming up here, top line and the bottom line forming up.
Yep, Nick Massey definitely helping Tyler Fody right here. That's Mountain Man Motorsports that Nick Massey is on, but he is a former Lake Norman racing driver. He's definitely got some ties with them. The teamwork aspect definitely a part of this. As we see teammates move to the top of the racetrack, Ethan Burrell and David Tooker move up, and Burrell again leads on lap 2. He's the only driver to grab that lap-led bonus point so far.
Ethan Burrell was a Chevy driver last season for Do Good. Came very close to winning the championship, had a very strong run, now makes his way back over to his team in the Toyotas, and the first thing he does is get the pole at Daytona 500 and leading every lap so far right in front of his teammate David Tooker. Bottom lane is trying to see if they can form up. The outside lane has decided to run up against the wall. What you would see in a normal NASCAR race, that high side all the way up in the wall will be very much strong here tonight as drivers are going to have to make a decision. Do they run up to the top, or they try that bottom lane to work their way up to the front?
Yeah, bottom lane right now, that's Richie Hearn in the 73 car being pushed by Nick and Delicato in the 10, and they have worked their way up into the top 5 right now. And that lane definitely moving along. They're making some ground as Tooker's had to get off the back bumper of Burrell and cool that number 19 Toyota. Trey Holmes on pit road.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what happened to Trey Holmes there. It doesn't look like his car has any damage on it. I'm not sure if he had some personal issues going on, but that is not the start of the season that he wanted to have. We'll have to keep an eye on it. Drivers are allowed to be 6 laps down, or up to 6 laps down, if they have damage, but I'm not sure if they would count that as a connection issue if he comes back on later, or if they're going to count that as a racing situation for him to be on pit road.
Not
Something
sure.
we'll have to keep an eye on.
Not sure, as Trey Holmes was our our 5th place qualifier in this race. So strong car out early in this Daytona 500. Richie Hearn has worked to the race lead. He was not quite out front last time by, but that 10 car giving Richie Hearn a really good push, and down the back straightaway Burrell and Tooker lead, but Hearn's been able to make up a lot of ground in those corners.
Now with these next-gen cars, these bumpers line up very well. More than any other Cup car, we have these bumpers really able to get a really solid push. Now what you see here is when a driver hooks up just right with the driver in front of them, they're able to do what's called tandem draft and able to push themselves out. Tandem draft is in effect here tonight, but the key thing is are you able to keep the engine cool? Some of these drivers are going to be a little bit cautious in the early runs as to not overheat the engine, but we're going to see this play more and more of a factor as the race goes on.
There we are, and you have to manage that engine temperature. These guys have readouts in front of them. They've got the temperature, they've got water temp, oil temp, everything that you would need to keep that motor cool. Richie Hearn, Ethan Burrell, those cars are nice and cool right now, but Nick and Delicato, the more he pushes on that 73 car to try and push him forward, that's going to heat that car up because it's covering that grill opening. Much like real life, Richie Hearn and Nick and Delicato would not benefit from Delicato blowing his motor in front of the field.
Yeah, right now Trey Holmes still 5 laps down, and he has manually disconnected, so something has gone awry for him if there's an issue or not. I would have probably put money on Johnny Thomas's gerbils to give out before anybody else have a problem, but Johnny Thomas looking still good, running right now the last driver on the lead lap. We have all the way from first all the way down to 42nd, our final driver on the lead lap, only separated by 2 and a little over a half a second, so you blink and the whole field will go by.
Yeah. And Trey connects back in. Not sure, if that'll get resolved, but this field moving around right now really quickly. And out back, a couple of Lake Norman Motorsports drivers. You got Justin Wadsworth, Scott Crump way out the back right now with Johnny Thomas. Those guys playing the Dale Jarrett strategy, hanging out the back, waiting for a wreck. That's definitely a valid strategy, especially in a race this long. We've seen once we get down towards green flag pit stops, as we kind of keep this song and dance going of these guys all too wide, someone's going to get impatient at some point, and that'll mess some things up.
Now, have we highlighted the stage ends?
We did.
As far as what laps are going to be, I believe it's 65 for the first one, correct?
It is 65 and 130 for the stages. And they will need to pit at least once before 65, and it might even be twice. Depends on how long they go on that first stage. It's usually 30 to 35, I think, in terms of fuel. So, if it's right in there, 65 is right on the cusp of that second pit stop.
Yeah, one thing I did notice when we were doing our races is that the fact that you can somewhat be able to just have a small group and still keep the same amount of speed as a large group pack like this. So we'll have to see if some of these drivers are going to play that factor of pitting early just to be able to get themselves away from the pack. We are noticing that outside lane starting to have some effectiveness. Again, we're going to see this ebb and flow of drivers being able to move their way up further in the pack just by how well they're able to push. But the main factor is that you're going to lose that draft a little bit when they start trying to air themselves out. So right now, really good drafting taking place between that 19 and 37 as Ethan Burrell is still out there leading this race.
Sure is. And you can see the closer Nick and Delicato gets to Richie Hearn, the closer they get to the front of the field. And Richie was a little bit all over the place in his duel, but it seems like he is leading this line really well because Indelicado's been able to push him forward. And, I think that's just the natural progression of, these drivers getting more comfortable running with a guy who I think he's only done one plate race with this group. So, Richie Hearn able to kind of make some friends in that duel. He finished up in the top 5 in said duel, and now he's leading that inside line and doing a really good job holding it steady, keeping Nick Indelicado right behind. And they're losing a little ground, but I think they're in the not preferred line right now.
You're probably watching this and going, well, why isn't anyone shooting up the middle? I will let you know. This is a weird package with how these Cup cars are here at Daytona. These cars side draft extremely well to the point where if you have a car to the inside and outside of you, you will lose all your momentum. So we're going to refer that middle lane that someone's going to end up probably getting stuck in as the trash chute tonight. So if you hear us refer to the trash chute that someone was left in, that will be reserved for that middle lane. That will start to be effect as some drivers are going to try to make it work, or other drivers are forced into it. Right now, everyone's just playing a little friendly out there.
And 9 laps down for Trey Holmes, but I think that they will cut him some slack based on the nature and the context of that loss of time. Actually, 12 laps down now, according to our monitor there. I've got 9, but either way, right, Trey Holmes definitely down a few laps, and that's going to make it tough for him to win this race, but potentially, they could give him a couple of laps back here. It depends on the cautions, obviously.
Seeing a little bit of not matching up bumpers very well between our leaders on the inside line. That allowed Chris Wright to jump up to the high side, and that's really broken apart that bottom lane as Richie Hearn and Nick Indelicado didn't line up the bumpers too well, and it got that 37 or 73 car a little out of whack. They're going to see if they can get lined back up, but that has allowed that outside lane to really surge and get going forward.
Top 5 clear on that outside lane. Chris Wright now side by side with Richie Hearn up top. And Wright, pretty aggressive early. He told me he wants to make it to the end of this race, but maybe the safest place Chris Wright feels like he can be is up at the front of this field. That's how he's working right now, trying to get up there with his teammate Nick Massey.
Now we're seeing a few drivers trying to see if they can get that middle lane going, as it is not able to do that. Right now, it is all Ethan Burrell and Pro Edge at the front of the field leading that high side. Still able to get somewhat of a draft. Now the question is, when we get a little bit closer, are these drivers in the back, are they saving fuel more than the drivers in the front? We know that Ethan Burrell must be full throttle completely all the way around, but some of those drivers 6th, 7th on back, are they starting to lift and trying to see if they can save a little fuel so they don't have to take as much at the next green flag pit stop?
I mean, you could probably tell us better given your proximity to the last time you were racing in this car, but I tend to believe these guys in the mid-pack are naturally saving fuel a little bit, trying to check up in those long lines. You're probably not burning your full tank right now, your full maximum gas pedal here. You're trying to lift and keep your car in line and getting pulled along by that draft, and if you're being pulled along, you're not using as much fuel. So the guys using a lot of fuel, these two guys right here, Ethan Burrell and David Tooker. Tooker has pushed Ethan Burrell very, very well. He pushed him well to the win of the duel on last Wednesday, and now he is obviously pushing Ethan Burrell out into the lead and keeping Tyler Fody at bay pretty consistently here and allowing that outside lane to lead this Daytona 500.
Well, you can tell if we can go from a wider view, like a chopper angle here, just how big the gaps are in between the cars. That, to me, is the biggest indicator of how much people are lifting, because if they're not right on top of somebody, that's probably because they're not putting the throttle down completely. As we're seeing Trey Holmes starting to go one more lap down. Now he will be in the pack, but this is going to force drivers to have to be in that middle lane. That trash chute, who's going to be the odd man out? Eventually, Trey Holmes is going to be up to speed, and that might leave somebody stuck in that middle lane, and we'll have a perfect example of what it looks like to go down the trash chute. Is it going to be a rucker? It might be a rucker here.
It might just be, though, they're kind of staying in the middle. Rucker's bumped to Corey Abbott, not particularly strong, and yes, Gerald called it. It will be Rucker.
Rucker in the trash chute.
We do have 3 wide action here. Ryan Gable trying to get to the outside of Andrew Rucker. And there it is. Rucker's car starts to lose momentum, and he falls. The Sunny D heading
falling fast, yes.
falling back.
If you go on, let's take a look at Rucker real quick, because you'll see just how much speed he is losing.
He got in. He got in.
Got in.
Aaron Staff.
He jumped right down on the bottom, but he, in a very short amount of time, lost about 6 or 7 positions in just a matter of a couple seconds. That's what that middle lane will do for you. So that's just something these drivers have to keep an eye on. They all know that from the duels. We learned a lot from the duels as to what lanes work and what lanes do not. And I promise you it doesn't. But one thing we do have a change up is we have a new driver leading that bottom lane. That is going to be that 56 car coming down to the bottom. Tate Lytle going to be dropping in front of Richie Hearn to lead that bottom lane.
And Nick Delicato saw that and decided, I've had enough, and moved to the top in front of Chris Wright. So a little swapping action there going on, and right now the advantage is to Tate Lytle, who is starting to pull back forward, but it seems like Richie Hearn not able to get quite as close to the back bumper as Delicato was to Hearn earlier, and Ethan Burrell continuing to lead on that outside line, and that's not changing anytime soon right now.
Now, the biggest thing that I remember when I was doing this race is just how much the air affects these cars. They wiggle a lot. When they get closer together, when the packs will be on top of each other, they are very difficult to keep going in a straight line. And that sounds silly that you can't keep a car going straight very easily. That is the case whenever you're going 200 miles per hour and the wind hits a certain section of the car. It will make the car bobble. And that is one thing I notice in this car is it is very difficult when you are pushing to be able to make it go straight and not weave and turn around on you.
All right, Josh Robin into the middle of the racetrack down there in the garbage chute, and it looks like a bunch of guys flopping into the middle. Jonathan Cutlip jumped in there to help Trey Holmes out. Not sure if that's intentional or not, but they're moving forward. Trey Holmes now helped Jonathan Cutlip. Help from Ryan Gable. They're 3 wide in the middle of the pack.
It's kind of like you don't want to be there long. If you're going to try to make it work, you got to make it work very quickly, or you're going to have to get off as, there's a little bit of a checkup on the bottom lane. Drivers getting into each other, but you're about to watch here. It works for a very short time. It's kind of one of those things, if you're going to get the momentum, you're going to need to make a quick pass, because very quickly you'll see what happens to the 5. He loses contact with the 88, and this might spell the end of the 5's drive forward. Although we do have the 9 going down there now in the middle lane.
Yeah, Chris Wright's there. He's got a big push from Trey Holmes. What's really happening is the inside lane is getting killed by this. Side drafting on the right side of those cars is slowing them up down there on the bottom. So Cutlip moving forward. Ryan Gable moving forward. Almost a little contact between Tate Lytle and Gable. Lytle backs out of it, and Gable able to get to the bottom of the racetrack.
Yeah, Tate Lytle got a little bad air when those drivers ducked down in front of him, and he lost the whole front end of the car and almost went right into the 88 there, or 01 of Gavel. That would have spelled disaster for him, but we do now have that bottom lane making a surge. We're going to have a battle for the lead once again. Here comes Chris Wright, a driver that is very well known for being aggressive here at the Super Speedway. He's going to see if he can be able to rocket his way up to the front with that help of the lap car behind him.
Trey Holmes jumped in there. He said, I want to race even though I'm a few laps down. Doesn't matter to me. I'm going to the front. Chris Wright now taking the lead from Ethan Burrell by a push from Trey Holmes. Jonathan Cutlip and Ryan Gable have driven from mid-pack all the way up into second and third here. Frank Foti jumped to the bottom behind Gable. He's up here in the top 5.
Yeah, they all jump back up in front of the 37 there. That's going to put Ethan Burrell farther back than he's been the entire race. Here comes another surge from the bottom lane. We got, they're not lined up exactly right there, but they are going to have a little bit of a surge here. Ryan Gable now working his way up to the front for Lake Norman Motorsports with the help of Tyler Foti's father there.
Oh, yeah.
Frank Foti.
Look at Frank. What a run by Frank here. And, Gable did something really, really smart that I want to point to is when they were off center, instead of moving the car around to try to center it up, Gable just held it straight. And what you can do with this next-gen car is if you just hold this thing straight, and like Ryan Gable did, you can take that push even if it's a little bit off-center. And now, obviously, Frank Foti having to get back to the back bumper of that 0-1. They're not quite locking up as well as that outside lane is, and you can see how they're just losing positions.
Yeah, it's a little bit of help from both the driver leading it and the driver behind. If you are not lined up just perfectly, it's a lot of wasted momentum, and that's exactly what we're seeing with Frank Foti. He's banging the back bumper of Ryan Gable right now, but they are not going anywhere due to the fact that they're not lined up perfectly, and they continue to fall.
Yep, they're coming forward now, and here comes Tyler down to the bottom in front. So the Lake Norman cars working together here, trying to line up. We saw those fueled up cars, Trey Holmes and Jonathan Cutlip, start working together and move forward. Now the Lake Norman cars of Foti, Gavel, and Foti working forward here on the bottom of the racetrack.
Yeah, that combination didn't work out for me very well in the duel. I was Frank Foti sandwich and then right into the wall in the truck race. But yeah, right here we got Lake Norman lining up on that bottom lane. Now we got the 88 trying to see if he can be able to lead it. He's not going to be leading the race technically, but it is going to put him back on the lead lap. This is what he needs to do if he's going to try to get back as close to on the lead lap as possible, being so many laps down. He's going to have to be out front in case of a caution coming out. But here comes Tyler Foti, something that we are not unaccustomed to seeing at these super speedways. Tyler Foti leads lap 25.
He sure does, and they're trying to clear all three of those Lake Norman cars up to the top of the track. They weren't able to get Frank up, but Foti and Gable to the top. They'll go around Trey Holmes. Now Trey going to be the draftee of the elder Foti, as Frank will get in line with that 88, and Tyler up to the top of the racetrack. The younger Foti, he leads this race, accompanied by teammate Ryan Gable.
Well, it took a little bit, but these drivers have put their toes in the water and they felt it was warm enough. And now here they go. They're starting to push and they're starting to race. And that's exactly what we want to see here, folks. We want to see these drivers start to experiment, start to want to be the leader, want to be the head show here at Daytona. Right now, Tyler Foti out front. Who's next going to be the one to try to challenge for the lead?
Wild stat here while we're back to kind of the two wide non-shuffling racing. Ryan Gable started 37th on the day. He is up to second. That jump with Jonathan Cutlip up from about 20th place up to the top 5 in the middle of the racetrack. That was the key move. Also a couple of big movers, Jake Scarborough and Ty McIntosh back here on the bottom of the racetrack. They are up to the top 20 from 41st and 43rd position in that starting grid. So a couple of guys started way in the back, moving forward with that Shift Esports team. We'll see if they can make it up to the front here a little bit later on.
Yeah, here comes another surge from the bottom lane. The bottom lane is starting to be able to hook back up, but again, I think the weak link is Frank Foti there on the bottom. He still has gotten the drafting down pat, but no fear, he is still relatively new, even though his son is a multi-time champion. Tyler Foti's father, there, Frank Foti on that bottom lane, is a rookie here in this series. So it's never too late, folks. There's not an age restriction. You can still be able to get out here and race and still be considered a rookie.
Yeah, and Frank is definitely not a rookie in this race. He did run the 500 last season, but he's very much lower on the experience totem pole, and with that, you're going to get some inexperienced moves, like Gerald saw in that truck race on Sunday. It was a low experience move for sure, but Frank is learning, right? He's running up at the front in these races. He's drafting with Tate Lytle right now. He's picking up all that experience, and he's definitely grown. I've raced with him.
Car on the wall. We got the 8 that just slid right up into the wall. Almost into Hearn there. He's going to get back into the line.
3 wide.
He was trying to make a move, and he hit the wall pretty good there.
Josh Robin, known for a bit of bold maneuvering on these plate tracks, but usually pretty successful. Running with Mountain Man Motorsports this year, a teammate of Nick Massey, Johnny Thomas, Chris Wright.
Now, one thing I do have to say, these cars are... for the most part, pretty durable. So a hit in the wall is not that bad of a thing in these. They can take a hit like that. Now, there are key components on these vehicles that are the weak link. They're
big shuffle. He's leading Norgard around.
Norgard's
around and on the apron.
There's more contact.
Rabilas sideways. This is going to break the field up big because no caution has been called. Hanshaw checked up and Norgard checked up. Brent Jones checked up. Everybody keeps it straight. Corey Abbott checked up. A bad break for Abbott Motorsports there. Their whole group got checked up by this wreck.
What
And
happened there?
it came from just a checkup of the inside lane there. Norgard wound up checked up the most, and it ended up getting him spun by teammate Corey Abbott.
Somehow, some way, they kept going straight. Look how sideways Leighton Norgard gets. Incredible save by our Truck Series winner. They're able to get it straightened up and able to keep going. No, not Truck Series winner.
It
He
was
won the
Xfinity, yeah.
Xfinity Series on Monday. So our Xfinity Daytona winner able to keep it going, but he is going to be way back there. It has essentially made this a two-race going on. The drivers up in this front pack and the drivers in the back separated by almost 3 seconds.
Yeah, there's a big gap now between 22nd. There's even a bigger gap there. So up front, they're 3 wide. They're not done trying to wreck, but I'm trying to see. Let's get to the line here, see what the splits are. 1 lap up at speed. I think there's a group that's very close, back to 23rd, Justin Fortner. They're within 2 seconds of the lead. Matthew Weeks leads the second group. He is 4 seconds off of that front pack. That is a treacherous territory for our defending race winner, who said he was going to be up at the front of the field by lap, 90, 80? And now, off the back of the field, with pit stops coming up, he's going to have to really push here. He and Jordan Owens got to work together to try to move their way back and catch this front pack.
Big news here. Jonathan Cutlip had a throughput dropout, and he is now connected back in, but he is going to be multiple laps down. So that's Jonathan Cutlip. Also another driver, Justin Vandermeerl. I think he had an issue because he is now 4 laps down, and I don't think he's on the racetrack at this point in time. So that will now put multiple drivers a lap down right now. Trey Holmes, of course, with his issue, 10 laps down. But yes, we're already now having some connection issues with a couple of the drivers, and that making them essentially out of the race at this point.
Yeah, devastating for Fueled Up Racing. That's 3 of their 4 cars outright. So tough break for Fueled Up, and Cutlip already connected back. He should attempt to keep going, but we're seeing some newcomers, new faces here at the front of the field. Ethan Stanley being pushed by Jesse Racimus and Jake Scarborough on the bottom of the racetrack. Racimus, last time out at Daytona, won that race, walk off to get into the playoffs. And Jake he said he was not planning to come up to the front. I asked Jesse about it before the race. Jesse said, I won last time by hanging out at the back and wait until the last 20 laps. He's third on lap 33. That's not the plan, Jesse.
For him right now, that is actually the good thing to have happen, because if he was back there in the back of the pack, he would have been one of those that had checked up for that potential wreck and be out of the draft, which is not where you want to be in case if these cars continue to go, because right now this lead pack is quite a bit faster than some of those packs in the back there.
Yeah, they're definitely quicker right now. Ethan Burrell out front still. He's definitely led the most laps to this point. He would get that extra bonus point for leading the most laps if this were to continue, but in terms of the speed of this front pack, Tyler Fody ran a 46.2 last time by. Looking back into that second pack, Ryan Schuld, Matthew Weeks, they ran a 46.2 as well. So they're not, like you said, Gerald, the smaller groups can definitely run the same speed as the big pack, but they've got to make those marginal gains every single lap and be very consistent to where they don't make a big loss and lose all the ground that they make up.
I think a lot of it also has to do to the fact of how experienced they are at drafting. Because if you get 2 drivers that know how to push, like Ethan Burrell and David Tooker, like we see at the front of the field, they're going to be extremely fast. Now, the only issue for those drivers back there is that there is some really good pushers at the front of the field, which is not helping their situation. If it was maybe 2 drivers at the front of the field, I mean, talk about experience level and speed. You have Tyler Fody and Ethan Burrell at the front of the field. So these drivers are going to be some of the fastest that you see at these super speedways. So maybe if there's a little bit of mixing around, maybe some drivers that don't know how to push as well at the front, we may see the speeds drop down a little bit for maybe those smaller packs to catch back up a little bit.
Well, I'll tell you, Matthew Weeks' group did make up about a half a second last lap. You can see they're down at 3 seconds gap there on our pylon. I'm wondering about the second pack that's 8 seconds back. They don't seem to be making up the ground, but Matthew Weeks, Ryan Schull, Josh Clark, Andrew Rucker, Jess Story, and Jordan Owens, they're going to catch up back up to this pack and join it here maybe in just 2 or 3 laps.
Yeah, that third pack back there dropped about 0.4 of a second, so they are going quite a bit slower. And then there is a fourth pack. There's confirmed a fourth pack even further behind. They are running similar times as the leaders, so they're not dropping off, but they find themselves at a very tremendous deficit of 14 seconds behind the lead pack, which has now single filed out on the bottom of the line, because I do believe we've got some green flag pit stops going to be coming up here shortly.
Yeah, and the green flag pit stops here can definitely change the complexion of this race. Already we're spread out because of that incident there going into turn 1. Now you've got pit stops thrown into the mix with these cars. You know, they're going to have to be very careful. This is the first green flag pit stop we've had. We didn't get one in the duels. These guys are going to have to take care on the brakes. I heard Lake Norman's guys discussing how they were going to modify the cylinders to get the brakes in the right spot. Let's see if everybody did that, and whether or not those guys are going to be able to, not slide the right front tire, speed on pit road, things that can really derail your Daytona 500.
Absolutely. Again, it's picking your team, picking your favorites that go down pit road. There's a lot of negotiating going on behind the scenes. There's a lot of drivers having to click their gauges, figure out exactly what they're doing. 4 tires, 2 tires. How do we go about coming down pit road? What pit stall do you come? Do you go all the way down to the bottom of the track, or do you stay up high when you enter in? It's all a lot to figure out in a short amount of time, and it all comes down to the next couple laps to see how it all plays out.
Does, and looking at the gap there, Matthew Weeks' group did stall out at about 3 seconds behind this front pack. The second group is losing time pretty regularly, lap over lap. The third group is not losing nearly as much time. They're catching the second group. So the question becomes, when pit stops occur, right, when how do these groups make up time, right? The front group, this big pack, they're going to probably pit before everybody else. Can that second group maybe take advantage and make up the gaps that they're losing right now, because this front group is single file?
Weeks lost 0.2 of a second, so them all shuffling down to the bottom lane to get ready for pit stops has slowly started to make them lose the draft once again. So they are going to have to try to catch up, because if they don't and everyone comes down pit road, they could potentially fall even further behind from that group. So they got to try to, in the next lap or two, hurry up and catch this lead pack if they're going to be able to have a chance at staying with the lead pack after pit stops.
See if they come down this time by. They do not. Everybody stays on the racetrack for one more circuit, and this does take away the intrigue of that first stage. This pit stop will take these guys all the way to those stage points at lap 65. Given that they've run 40 laps, they can run to lap 80, it looks like, at least, before that next pit stop. Here come those Mountain Man Motorsports Chevys, Chris Wright and Nick Massey up to the top of the track, and they drop down in front, likely heading to pit road this time.
Yeah, I just heard from the 56 and a few of those drivers. They are going to be coming down pit road. So take a look, folks. This is the most exciting part of pit stops you'll see all season. All these cars having to figure out how to get down from 200 miles per hour to 65.
Pro Edge Toyota's down pit road, looks like, along with the Chevy of Richie Hearn. Do Good Motorsports has a couple of guys up at the front of the field now, and Jesse Racimus down pit road with that group. That small group didn't look like they it didn't look like they got any black flags there. I'm seeing everybody's good and ready to go. But with that checkup of the middle of the pack, Matthew Weeks' group has definitely pulling up on this front pack. So this front pack getting a little bit bigger. Tyler Fode, I believe, now the race leader up here, but oh no, he's not. Is it Dusty Dewar? It's about to be Dusty Dewar up at the front of the field. Burrell first off pit road among this group.
Yeah, that worked out for for Matthew Weeks to be able to get up there. More cars coming down pit road, much bigger pack this time. Lake Norman.
And Shift.
Huge pack of cars coming down pit road. Looks like everyone able to get it woed down in time.
Matthew Weeks' entire group came down with this group. They were among this group. So Weeks, Rucker, all those guys, they made it up. They made that ground and they made that advancement. And they're pitting with this group. Did that second group also pit with them? Looks like they might have.
Dusty Dewar able to lead a lap at Daytona here, now at the front of the field. Here comes Goody, going to have some do-good cars at the front of the field, so some switching around here. Dustin Dewar going to be coming down, as well as Matthew Weeks here this time.
Goody.
Oh!
Massey,
oh, Nick Massey almost. They are very lucky that there's not very many cars still at the front of the pack, or that would have been a crash right there.
Yeah, I think Massey was going to try to stay out another lap. I'm not entirely sure what was going on there. Goody started slowing down right at the right time. Seemed like Justin Wadsworth got a really slow stop.
Yeah, Goody blew past his pit box, a couple of them. Again, these drivers aren't hitting the brakes here very much on the racetrack, so when you come down pit road, they are not heated up. They will slide, and that's what we're seeing. Some of them did not heat up their brakes enough, and they slid through their pit box.
For sure. Weeks back down pit road. Did Weeks get a speeding penalty?
Must have gotten a speed penalty. He is going to be, just when it was starting to look up that he was catching back up, he is, he might have missed the kick box. Yeah, he's one of the earlier ones. He might have forgotten about that.
Oh, wow. Tough break for our defending Daytona 500 winner. Tough break for our defending champion, but he's got the entire race to make it up. And as Chris Wright and Chad Frankenfield merge onto the track, you can see right there, that's the leaders, Ethan Burrell, Jesse Racimus, Tate Lytle, David Tooker, and Josh Robin, the top 5.
It's really lucky for Weeks he had enough fuel to even be able to make it back around. It was lucky he wasn't right on the edge. Some of these drivers wait until they're almost empty. Most of them wouldn't have been able to make it back around. So luckily, it's not game over for Matthew Weeks. If a caution comes out, he still has a chance, but that's essentially going to put him a lap down here shortly.
Oh, yeah. Weeks definitely going to be a lap down in this one, and he'll have to rely on some cautions and that lucky dog in order to get back into this race. A bunch of guys have had trouble on this set of pit stops. Justin Wadsworth had some major trouble. Not sure what happened to the 6 car. Seth Rawls has just gone a lap down in the 25. He's been battling connection demons all week long, really. He ended up disconnected out of a couple of different races there, and that car is still not fully up to speed down the back straightaway. So Rawls, as he goes a lap down, will be among the drivers Weeks will have to fight for to get that lap back.
Well, talk about teammates out here and being able to come down pit road and making it work out. 7 of our top 8 are either Pro Edge or Lake Norman. So that gives you an idea. Those drivers are got that down pat. Teammates being able to get on and off pit road effectively and be able to get back into drafting formation to be able to work themselves out clearly in front of the field. And now we see a separation between our top 15, or actually top 13.
11.
No, 11 drivers. 11 drivers from the rest of the field. And again, most of those are Pro Edge or Lake Norman. So that gives you an idea of teammates being able to work together.
Yeah, if you expand it out to Motor Shift Esports, I think it's 8 of the 11 cars here are one of 3 teams, right? Nick Delicato, Ty McIntosh, the 2 Shift cars in here. And I want to note Ty started dead last on the field, 43rd, missed the dual race last week. I think he was at a wrestling show, was Ty McIntosh. And, he said, it'll be fine. I'll start in the back. He won the truck race on Sunday and came around, and now he's in the top 10 already in this Daytona 500 in this lead pack with good pit strategy. So a good run so far for Ty McIntosh. I also want to call out the guy right in front of him, Chris Stouffer, in his first Daytona 500 with this Elite Racing League. And Stouffer in that 47 car. We saw teammate Richie Hearn running well early in the race. Richie, I think, is kind of a little bit further back after the pit stop. He's back there with Michael Hosek, Andrew Rucker, about 5 seconds off. But Chris Stouffer running really well up in the top 10 and in the lead pack.
Well, right now that will put 38 cars on the lead lap. Matthew Weeks is the lucky dog contender right now, running in that 39th position, 1 lap down. Seth Rawls is also one of those drivers that has gone a lap down here in the number 25. I'm not sure if that came from a pit road incident or not, but he is now effectively 1 lap down. They will be coming up on another driver here, probably within the next lap or 2, Justin Wadsworth to be essentially another car 1 lap down. Everyone else is grouped up on the racetrack right now.
Yep, a lot of groups, right? We have one group that's about 5. Well, we got this group that you can see back here behind this single file line of cars, the top 11 or so, plus Matthew Weeks, Chad Frankenfield leading that group with Chris Wright. Then there's a group with Dusty Dewar and Michael Goodman, about 5 seconds off the lead pack. Then you've got a few guys just off them, including lapped cars, Jonathan Cutlip and Trey Holmes. And then you've got a group that's 20 seconds back. That includes those guys that were kind of wadded up in that wreck: Leighton Norgard, Corey Abbott, and then guys who checked up: Johnny Thomas, Scott Crump. That's a group that I think if you pull that whole entire back group back to this front group with a caution, you might get a race winner out of that group. There's a lot of fast cars that are well back right now because of all the shenanigans that have happened on track.
Well, the question is when does a caution come out? Because there is so many packs. It's going to have to be when some of them start to merge back together to make larger factions. Right now, it is there's not really a pack that's tremendously large. I think the front pack is the largest pack at 11 cars right now. So it is going to take some of those packs starting to form back together to cause some of these drivers to be able to race side by side. Right now, everyone seems to be single filed out, just focusing on running the laps that they are intended. As we get closer and closer to this stage end, we should see this front pack start to race it out just a little bit.
Well, eventually they'll start firing it up, right? Matthew Weeks and Justin Wadsworth, lapped cars in this front group. They have teammates up there that they're going to want to help draft forward to the front. But side-by-side racing is breaking it apart here.
Yeah, they just separated. Another pack was formed. It's kind of like worms or something like that. You cut it, and then there's another one. So, yeah, I think they're outside the draft now. No, they got back in. They got back in. I was worried there because it was about to be all but one driver in the lead pack that wasn't a Lake Norman or a Pro Edge at this point. So, yeah, at least now they're back to somewhat resemblance there.
Matthew Weeks, Jesse Rasmus jumping to the top of the racetrack, trying to get back to that point of where Weeks doesn't need to rely on the lucky dog and being in front of Justin Wadsworth in this pack, as we're right on board with Ethan Burrell. I want to bring in our first retiree of the race, if I can, and that's Justin Vandermarl. And Justin, take us through the issues for poor fueled up racing. We've seen issues for Trey Holmes, we've seen issues for Jonathan Cutlip and yourself. What happened out there, man?
Not really sure what happened to John. Trey had his C-bar was just maxed right as soon as we got on the grid, which is really unfortunate. And as we were doing pace laps, he just disappeared and dropped to the back. Never really got it fixed until he left the lobby and came back, which also sucks because at that point he was 9 laps down. About 20 laps through the race, I got the same issue with the C-bar. Disappeared, never came back. I'll be parked. That's fine with me. It didn't feel like it was going to fix itself anyway. And whatever happened to John in the 5, I have no idea. I've never seen something like that before. It just booted him straight out of the lobby from within the top lane there. So sucks for us. 3 laps for John is maybe the best case scenario here. That's not that many at Daytona, especially you all know we can wad them up pretty good at certain points during the race. So we'll see if he can come back to the lead lap at some point.
I gotcha. Well, any shout outs here tonight? You know, it's not the night you guys wanted, and I think you got a couple of guys still out there racing.
Yeah, we were all looking forward to tonight. I feel like we all had some pretty high confidence and some fast race cars going on, so we're going to be rooting for Personette and Jordan Owens out there. I just want to thank Fueled Up Racing and Trey and John for all the help they've done with me over the past season and a bit to get me ready for this kind of stuff. And we'll move on to Texas, and hopefully it goes better.
Looks like we lost Cutlip again. So, yeah, I think it is down to Personette and Jordan. But sorry about that, Justin. We feel bad for you, but hopefully Fueled Up's back in there here in a little bit.
It's got those mid 2000 DEI engines in them. They just keep blowing on them.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Wow.
Enjoy the race, guys.
Well, we did lose one of those top 11 drivers. Now it is essentially a 10-car lineup at the front of the field as they all jump to the high side lane. They saw Weeks making some moves up there, and now all jump up there as they are starting to get within 10 laps of this stage in. It's going to be, I think, a very, very well placed teammate drafting here of Lake
Yep.
Norman and Pro Edge, because here comes Lake Norman on the bottom with all three of them starting to race side by side and making some moves.
They saw 10 laps to go in the stage, and they thought, well, it's time to go. Pretty clearly. Here comes Indelicato looking to get down to the bottom with Ty McIntosh, his teammate. Shifty Sports, Jesse Racimus, and Josh Robin are the only non-cars not from those two teams up here in the front. Robin with Mountain Man Motorsports, but you do have the lapped cars of Wadsworth and Matthew Weeks up here in this top group, and Weeks has found his teammates in that 11 car. He is dicing his way to the front. He is not about to hold back with this car being one lap down. He has got to take risks and go so that he can be leading if that caution flag does happen to come out.
Yeah, there are a few of those drivers in that group there, technically lead group, that are a lap down that he is racing against. A caution at any point in time could be the factor of him being on the lead lap or not. So right now, Matthew Weeks is leading that spot and leading the bottom lane as effectively against his teammates on the high side there.
Yeah, and Weeks trying to lead that bottom lane. He can also kind of control that Lake Norman push behind him and prevent them from bypassing his teammates up front. But I don't think that's what Weeks is on Weeks' mind at all right now. He's trying to go out here and grab the de facto race lead from Ethan Burrell and Tate Lytle and David Tooker up here and control that race. He might jump up to the top of the racetrack and get in front of those guys. Yeah, look at that right there.
Yeah, they did. They almost brought the 0-1 up there with them. Now that will, oh boy, they got not hooked up just right there between the 40 and the 0-1 on that bottom lane. They are now hooked back up. So now it's a pushing game here as they got 10 laps to go. Who's able to get the push forward? Is it going to be that high lane or is it going to be that bottom lane? Is it Chevy or is it Toyota?
Well, Ryan Gable and Tyler Fody are going to take a little bit to get wound up on this bottom, and it looks like Weeks jumping to the top in front of Ethan Burrell. That has a little bit unsettled that top lane. Let them fall back a little bit, and with that, let's see if Fody and Gable can make a big run on the bottom. You can see Fody giving the gigantic push to the Hux machine on the bottom of the racetrack. Ryan Gable trying to go out here and get a stage win in the Daytona 500.
Points are awarded, so this is effectively, they got points in the Gatorade duel, or the duels that we had on last week, but now there's more points to be taken up here. The top 10, essentially everyone in this group right here, as long as there's not a caution, will be awarded some points, but who's going to get the most important factor, that 1 point of advantage that goes to the winner of the stage for the overall, for the for the championship. Oh boy.
Matthew Weeks was not about to push Ryan Gable on that top side. He was going to find a way around that 0-1 or wreck him trying. So Gable jumps back down in front of teammate Tyler Fody. And even though Gable is the de facto leader, he led the last lap at the start-finish line. Matthew Weeks in control on that outside lane. He is not interested in pushing the 0-1 car.
I don't know if I would want to be on that on that high side there. They're going to push you and not care about your health. So we'll see how that works out for Ryan Gable there, as he's effectively leading that outside lane, cutting off that point of access for the Toyotas. One thing he does not want to do is leave that outside lane. Tyler Fody goes down, comes back up on the racetrack. Is he going to be able to get back in line without losing the draft, though?
Yeah, that's the question. Fody with an incredible save there through that turn 3 side. He might, but if I'm Justin Wadsworth, I pull back a little bit and go help Tyler Fody.
There's smoke up ahead.
There is smoke. What happened? We've it's Carlos Acosta slow on the apron here in the 0-2. It's got to be him. Oh, he got
my goodness.
aligned by Scott Crump back here in the back of the field.
Wow, that did not cause a caution either.
No, it did not. I think that means Carlos is going to end up spinning and not being in front of anybody. Looks like Darren is also going to get up near the wall. I can't believe that wasn't a caution flag.
Is there going to be contact there? No. Wow. That you don't see very often on a super speedway, I'll be honest with you.
No,
that usually does not lead to very good things.
Tyler Fody did indeed lose the draft, by the way. He is now 3 seconds back. Chad Frankenfield's group will wrap him up, I believe, here in a lap or two. But that does put Fody on danger of missing out of some points for this stage here in 5 laps.
Yeah, that is effectively now given the strength to Pro Edge, which is now leading the top 4 spots at the at the high side there. You see right behind them 3 Lake Norman cars right behind. But now it was effectively 4 against 4. Now it's 3 against 4, and with a couple other teams marked in between. As we'll see if some of those other drivers, we'll call them other drivers, see if they can be able to make a factor between this battle between teams.
Yeah, I think Josh Robin definitely will have something to say about it. He's definitely going to work with those Lake Norman guys, and it looks like the Shift Esports guys have been Delicato and McIntosh starting to work the bottom with Justin Wadsworth. Wadsworth, obviously someone who's experienced some downsides in this race. He's just been a little bit unlucky, and the pit stops and cycle didn't go his way. He ended up at the back of the field, and he's a lap down. He's fighting Matthew Weeks to get back in the lead lap, and right now, just to recap, Matthew Weeks is a lap down, but he's on the tail end of the lead lap right now, leading in front of Ethan Burrell, and we're seeing some damage on Darren Staff's car. He's heading to the back. I wonder if there's more damage on that car. There was an incident or something, because Kyle Hanshaw's also lost the back of that lead draft.
Well, we saw Kyle Hanshaw. He was just trying to avoid Carlos Acosta and lost that group, essentially having to brake and go down to the apron to avoid him. So that's why the 46 is off the pace, now effectively a lap down. That will put us down to only having 35 drivers on the lead lap. But here comes...
There was an incident down the back straightaway a lap and a half ago. Staff's front bumper wound up popping off, and Gerald, I don't know if you remember what happened to Vincent Isabella in this race last year, but that's exactly the same thing. A small bump draft on the back straightaway, and Staff's entire front bumper jumped off the car and made him slide around and slide sideways and slowed him up. See right there.
Oh boy. Yeah, someone forgot to bolt it on. No, I think that's actually a little bit of netcode, determining that in his race, it effectively thought the car in front of it wasn't moving, and so he got a front impact from that at high speeds, and he's more than likely got engine damage from that now.
Yeah, huge issue for Darren Staff, and with that not causing a caution, that'll make it very difficult for the 55 to pursue the good story that was the RK Motorsports group, as Carlos Acosta and Staff now with big trouble, just a lap apart from each other. So I think we're on the white flag on the stage. Maybe 2 to go on the stage here.
Well, effectively, Tyler Fody went from trying to battle for a stage win to now being 16th and effectively out of the points at any point in time here. I don't think he's going to be able to get back in front of all the drivers in front of him to even gain that one singular point. That should go to whoever's leading that group there. But
Frankenfield.
At Frankenfield at the moment, yes. But again, back up at the front, Pro Edge has decided if you want to pass us, you're going to have to do it on the bottom lane. Right now, they are not too concerned at the moment. We do have a couple drivers trying to work together. That's going to be the 35 there. Going to try to see if he can be able to make a move. With the 91, they didn't hook up right. They almost turned the 35 around. Here we go to the white flag. 1 lap to go in this stage.
One to go in the stage. Burrell leading, but McIntosh slow on the bottom.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened. I don't know if he thought the stage end.
Was it caution or what? Yeah, I don't know. But it wasn't even the stage end. We still got one more lap. Stanley and Indelicato working up the bottom of the racetrack. That's not going to be enough.
No,
right now,
it's
not. It's between Tate Lytle and Ethan Burrell for this stage win. Does Pro Edge shift out of this single file train and try to go for it here? Josh Robbins going to go for it from 4th. I don't think that's going to be enough, though.
I think we're going to probably see Tate Lytle try to make a move here. Maybe not.
Doesn't look like it. They're content to go 1 through 4 at the line. Ryan Gable did get Josh Robin at the line, barely, for 4th. Ethan Burrell, Tate Lytle, David Tooker, the top 3 in this stage. Gable, Robin, Jesse Racimus 6th, and Delicato 7th, Stanley 8th, Ty McIntosh grabs 9th, and Chris Wright took it from Chad Frankenfield at the line. He'll fall back now in that second pack. He and Frank Fody tried to work to the top and did take a point from Chad Frankenfield there at the line.
Yeah, so you see it right there, having that strength at the front of the field there for Pro Edge played off perfectly for them, as they're all going to start off the season with some strong points so far in this race. So good job for Pro Edge, able to work together. Lake Norman just could not seem to work together, and I think it was the spell of Tyler Fody having that issue that caused their downfall, being able to race for that stage win.
Yeah, it was. Definitely. Once Fody got kicked out of the line, they were just kind of stuck at the mercy of these Pro Edge Toyotas, and these guys have really controlled this race ever since this thing got split apart there around that first pit stop. Now, these guys are going to be looking for that second pit stop coming up in about 13 laps or so. We'll see if anything in this pack changes, whether or not any sort of caution comes out, because right now, the way this thing's split apart, it seems like this thing's going to be clean and green for a long time.
Well, they will be catching up to more groups of car. I believe they're going to be catching up on a 4-car group here, I would say in about 10 laps. So that will add to this pack. Again, the chances of something going wrong or awry and an issue will probably be with a bigger pack. But also we've seen bump drafts go wrong so far with drivers maybe that are getting a little bit impatient with how their race is going, like Scott Crump back there further in the field trying to push someone, and all it takes is one bad push to cause an incident. So without saying so, there's still a chance of a wreck occurring to cause this all to gather them back up again before it's all said and done.
Absolutely right. And, I want to note, Elite Racing, we do not do cautions at the stage. We do not do cautions just for competition's sake, right? If this race is a clean and green type of race, then it is, right? That's just how it is. And it's on these guys to make the moves to determine what the strategy is. And right now, if you're in this top 10, you've got to maintain this. You can't be wrecking yourself out of this big advantage you have right now. You've got to maintain and try to run and give yourself a chance late in the race, because eventually these 3 Pro Edge Toyotas are going to start racing each other, you would think.
Well, before we get into any more tight battling or pit stops, do we have any sponsor shout-outs to give?
Yeah, I think now's the time to run a sponsor break. Hi.
The Bommarito Automotive Group 500 at Worldwide Technology Raceway is not just a race, it's a spectacle. Friday, August 16th and Saturday, August 17th. The race everyone talks about. The Bommarito Automotive Group 500. Only at Worldwide Technology Raceway. Go to WWTRaceway.com now, because the first deal is the best deal. Brought to you in part by the Illinois Office of Tourism and Discover Downstate Illinois.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
All right, you're watching the Belly Up Sports Cup Series. Belly Up Sports is the
back
internet
at the Daytona
sports bar.
500, lap 73 out of 200 underway. Matthew Weeks, Ethan Burrell, Tate Lytle, David Tooker, the top 4 cars on track. Now I want to toss it over to Dave, the producer, with a few additional sponsor reads before we get this round of green flag pit stops.
All right, I forgot to unmute Discord, so I'd already started him and you couldn't hear me. So I'll pick up where I left off with Belly Up
Lost you again, Dave.
Yeah, see on the broadcast is the question.
Not your usual sports site.
Okay, there we go.
Check out our on X or at bellyupsports.com. Blue Egg Marketing. Blue Egg, rev up your business with Blue Egg, your marketing pit crew. Turbocharge your lead generation with experienced drivers that can navigate the competitive track to connecting with your customers. With Blue Egg, you're always in the pole position, leading your brand toward victory lane. Don't spin your wheels. Accelerate success with Blue Egg, fueling small businesses to win big. Worldwide Technology Raceway is a motorsport racing facility in Madison, Illinois, just east of St. Louis, Missouri. It features a 1.25-mile oval that hosts the NASCAR Cup Series, the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, and the NTT IndyCar Series. They have a 2-mile infield road course, which will be racing here soon in the Elite Series. They are also used by Speed Tour Trans Am, SCCA, and the Porsche Club of America. There's a quarter-mile NHRA-sanctioned drag strip that hosts the annual NHRA Camping World Drag Racing Series Midwest Nationals event. And finally, they have a Kartplex, a state-of-the-art karting facility. New this year as a premier sponsor is 4D Racewear, makers of ultimate sim racing shoes and custom apparel designed for sim racing by sim racers. 4D sim racing shoes are custom engineered to connect racers to the pedals in a way no other racing shoe can. They'll provide all the comfort needed for those double and triple stids. Visit 4dracewear.com and check out the original racing gloves for your feet. Our race sponsor tonight is Homeplace Beer. Homeplace brews sessionable farm-to-pint beers using lots of local ingredients from Yancey County, North Carolina. At Homeplace, you'll find plenty of lagers, table beers, hoppy American, and malty English beers. Mixed culture fermentations. Those are our sponsors for tonight. I don't think you guys can hear me, so once it goes through the broadcast, you'll know I'm done.
We got you back.
We got you back. I real quickly, before we start getting into the pit stops, I want to see like each group as relative where they are. So if Dave, if you don't mind, like just flipping back to the next group and then the next group, just to give the people an idea. This is going into turn number 3 and 4. That's our second group. And then back to the next group behind them, even further back, going down the middle of the back straightaway. That's our next group, all the way 20-something seconds behind the leader. And then let's go back all the way to 36 seconds, coming out of turn number 2. That's our next group of cars back there. So that's there's one more group. And there's another group.
Yep, there they are.
And then farther back. And then one more back is our leaders.
Yep.
To give you an idea.
We skipped past the leaders.
You skipped the leaders. There's the leaders.
There they are. Yep.
Yeah. So that gives you an idea of how many packs are out on the racetrack. There's like little ecosystems of cars racing around, not knowing exactly what's going on with the other ones. It's a beautiful thing. It's of art right now on racetrack.
We've got, it's this. I think this is the biggest of our groups right here, the front pack. But
unfortunately, the lead group is the biggest at 11 cars. But yeah, I mean they are effectively the fastest group, but not fast like ultimately fast. Like I was saying earlier, a small group of 4 is only running like a 1/10 of a second slower than this group, which is they will eventually get caught, but it's going to take a long time for something to occur.
Yeah, and I think pit stops are also going to shuffle this up a little bit. We'll see what this front group has when it comes to pit stops, because we could split things up even more drastically, and we also could see some of these guys get lapped and join this group, make it a little bit bigger and a little bit racier once this pit stop cycles in. So this front group has jumped to the bottom of the racetrack. We anticipate lap 80 was about the time they're probably going to come down pit road, and I think Matthew Weeks is probably the one who's burned the most fuel. Looks like he's led in front of Ethan Burrell and Tate Lytle and David Tooker the whole way pretty much on this run. So those guys definitely burning less fuel than Matthew Weeks, not leading this line. And we'll see if it's time for Pro Edge to head down pit road right here.
Yeah, you would believe even if one of the drivers led a lot, they would all want to come down at the same time. Now you have to remember Matthew Weeks went a little bit longer because he missed his pit box the last time. So he has maybe a lot more fuel than he would have. I don't think he found that as an advantage, being on the last car on the lead lap right now.
Yeah, unfortunate for Matthew Weeks. Pretty clear. Once this group gets up to the front together, they're going to be difficult to beat. But recall, Weeks did end up getting wrecked in that dual race, and he was not able to qualify up near the front. And that's kind of the crux of the problem here, is that this race ended up being a bit of a track position race, and the only drivers that were able to make up big track position in that very first run were Ryan Gable, Josh Robin, and Ty McIntosh. And everyone else started up in this front top 10 or so, and they're still running in that top 10 minus those 3 guys.
So I am hearing some drivers saying that they will be pitting on lap 82.
There you go.
So that's going to be in a short amount of time here.
Yep. Either this lap or next lap.
We do have a car right in front of the leaders.
Yep. Mark Rubilas coming off pit road. He might have hit the track. That might be an unsafe pit exit.
He's already,
Yep.
He's got damage, I think.
That's a damage penalty for Mark Rubilas. What's up with that?
Yeah, he's got a
big right front
side damage. He's way off he's sparking. He blew a tire out.
Something's wrong with this
Mark
96
Rubilas,
car.
He's dropping like Bitcoin in real life. I mean, it is broken.
It looks like Brent Jones got into Mark Rubilas last lap in turn 1 and turned the 96 car head on into the wall.
Oh, there's a car locked up there going on pit road.
They are heading down. The Pro Edge guys have come down pit road.
I think someone might have went in the grass a little bit there.
Oh, they didn't come down pit road. Oh, no, wait, I'm on replay. Yeah, they are on pit road right now. We should probably go to the leaders here.
Well, Lake Norman has stayed out.
They have. Ty McIntosh and Jesse Racimus came down with the Pro Edge cars. I don't see Nick Indelicato, though. Indelicato did come down, but Indelicato either took 4 tires and didn't mean to or missed his pit box, but he is way off the pace of the guys just come off pit road. So Indelicato is no longer going to be part of this lead pack, as here comes the second group. Chad Frankenfield, Ryan Schultz, Christopher Jake Scarborough, the Fodeys. Yes, Nick had a very long pit stop.
Almost saw some drivers wreck going on to pit road there. A couple made contact, 02 and 32. Slammed into each other, making their way onto pit road. Oh, drivers are cars coming off of pit road, cars coming onto pit road, almost having some contact there.
There's one in the grass. Brent Jones missed pit road.
Oh,
He'll have
that's
to get
tough. He's got to have enough. He's got to hope he's got enough fuel to make it back around.
Yeah, not.
That might be a caution if he doesn't make it back around.
I don't think iRacing will throw a caution for the stalled car.
Yeah, maybe.
The leaders of the Lake Norman quad group came down pit road. Robin, Wright, Stanley.
I don't think they're going to be on the lead lap or on the lead group there.
No, I don't think so.
The Pro Edge guys are lined up really well on racetrack, putting on some really good laps here. So I don't know if those Lake Norman guys.
They're definitely not going to be in this group. They're coming off pit road right now. The Pro Edge group is rolling right past them as we speak. I would go up here to Ethan Burrell, Dave, and let's watch Burrell soar around this Lake Norman group.
It's going to be close. I don't think so. I think they're going to lose touch with the draft.
Yeah, this is going to be tight. And you see Ethan Stanley and Robin working really hard to try and get up to speed, but it's just not enough.
They definitely should have came down pit road at the same time they did.
Yeah. Let's see if the Lake Norman guys can hang on to the draft of this front group. That's now the big question. Robin and Stanley are kind of quickly falling back. They're over a second behind now.
Yeah, it's done at that point.
They're 7/10ths behind Racimus. It's the gap to Racimus. I think because Racimus and staff are a little bit off and this group is about to have to go side by side, I think this Lake Norman group's going to be okay.
Oh, it's close. It's close. It's right there on the edge. Really, the view is going to be on Robin. If Robin... Oh, nope, that's
yep, they're going to catch it. Scott Crump jumped up in front of Ethan Burrell, trying to stay on the lead lap. Big, bold move by Scott Crump. Tell me you've never heard that before.
No, not this season so far.
Well, there's a first time for it, and it was right here in this Daytona 500. Scott Crump trying to stay on the lead lap. He jumps up in front of Ethan Burrell. This pack's going to get very big because they just absorbed 5 or 6 lapped cars. The Abbott Motorsports group of Corey Abbott and Leighton Norgard, they absorbed Darren Staff. Gavin Hibbs is a lap down now. Crump obviously up here at the front. Here comes Ethan Burrell underneath the 90 of Scott Crump. But with this big group now absorbing a bunch of race cars, they're going to start getting racy.
I'm still waiting to see if Lake Norman's going to catch up. It is still questionable. It is still very questionable.
They also absorbed Johnny Thomas as another one, but they're definitely in the group. I think that's definitely there. Corey Abbott's now leading this second group. He's got Josh Clark in tow. It's another car that's now a lap down. Jess Story is now a lap down. Josh Robin got shuffled out and all that.
Yeah, Robin's going to definitely lose the draft. So one of the Lake Norman drivers is absolutely out. He's dropping a second a lap right now. So Josh Robin is going to lose the lead draft. It looks like a couple of the Lake Norman drivers may get back up onto it, but it's still
big.
That's a good view to show everybody what we're talking
big push
about.
from Josh Clark to Corey Abbott, Johnny Thomas, Ethan Stanley in that second group. They are there. I think this is one big pack now.
Mostly lap cars.
It is mostly lapped cars, but those lapped cars are going to fight. They're going to fight tooth and nail. They need to get up to be the first car on the lead lap, as we've now lost Chris Stouffer in the attrition part aspect of this race. Mark Urbilis, one of the cars that we've lost in this race. Now Stouffer off the racetrack. So this lengthy session, 88 consecutive green flag laps, starting to take its toll on some of our guys here, and we've seen some mistakes get made on pit road entry. We've seen some mistakes get made with regard to the connection that's completely out of the control of some of these race car drivers, and all these lapped cars are chasing Matthew Weeks, who's third on that inside lane. So I anticipate that we'll get side by side here at some point. Guys like Scott Crump are definitely not going to sit and wait for that caution to come out. They're going to try to get in front of Matthew Weeks.
Yeah, that battle for that lucky dog is going to be intense right here, because again, anytime the caution comes out, that the lead driver of those lap cars will be getting that lucky dog award there. Right now, we only have 7 drivers on the lead lap that are in this lead pack, so the majority of them are lap down cars in this that are going to be racing against each other to stay on that lead lap or to award themselves that lucky dog. So right now it looks like to be about a 16 car group right here, and only 7 of them are lead lap drivers.
Josh Robbins found his way in with Chad Frankenfield, Tyler Fode, and Ryan Scholb. So that group of 3 probably becomes a group of 4, presuming Robin can hang on to the back of them. He's kind of fallen back off of that group as well. That 8 car not able to hang in the draft nearly as well as he would definitely like. And yeah, I think they're going to drive away from Josh Robin.
That's not what you want to do. You'd want to try to pick up as many cars as you can.
Yeah.
You think they would probably slow down or try to line up behind them and take a little bit of a loss there. But now we're going to really see what a group of 3 cars can do, because they do have Tyler Fode, who's a really amazing pusher, to be able to be behind Chad. So we'll see how a group of 3 is able to do time-wise, if they drop off or if they're able to stay the same lap times as the leader.
Yeah, it looks like they're losing time right now, but if this front pack starts to get side by side, they might gain some time. It's just a matter of, lap over lap. I think this group of 3 ends up losing time right now, and that's difficult because they keep gaining spots, right? Every time this front group jettisons one of our lead lap cars like Josh Robin, they gain spots. Now all 3 of these guys are in the top, they're in the top 10. They would get stage points if this thing were to roll green and they were able to stay right here. So
and they're not losing a lot of time. They're only losing 0.3 of a second, which is not a lot. That's just the craziness of this. We are starting to see some cars jump up to that high side. A lot of them are lap down cars trying to see if they can work their way up there.
Yep, and that's what's going to happen. These lap down cars, they're not going to like the prospect of that caution coming out and them losing that lucky dog to Matthew Weeks. They've got to go fight for it, and with that, they've jumped to the outside. Leighton Norgard leading the line. Scott Crump pushing him in tow.
They're about to catch 3 more cars for this group to get even larger. They're about to catch up to Richie Hearn, Michael Goodman, and Michael Hossack, all in line here. Only about a second or two in front of the leaders. They will be caught probably in this lap here alone.
Yep. Darren Staff up to the front of this front group as we're on board with Ethan Burrell, looking ahead at that group of 3 up front. Behind him is where the snarling mess is, because Jesse Racimus down to the bottom underneath Darren Staff. Staff got a big push from a Leighton Norgard, and now if Staff and Norgard can start to soar forward, they would make up big ground. But unfortunately, that door is slammed by the lead lap cars as Racimus, McIntosh, and then the Pro Edge duo of Ethan Burrell and Tate Lytle, along with lapped car Matthew Weeks, head to the top of the racetrack. They will hold off this big charge for now. Let's see what Gavin Hibbs and Josh Clark can do on the bottom of the racetrack.
Huge checkup on that outside lane. Almost caused a wreck right there. Johnny Thomas and all those end up actually taking a little bit of damage to the outside wall just to avoid that checkup on that high side. That's how quickly everyone jumped up to that high side there as they are approaching these lap down cars here. As right now it is all Pro Edge at the front of the field. They came to battle here as they are taking up the majority of these front positions here and have led the majority of these laps. It's without a doubt to say, if this continues, Ethan Burrell will at least lock up the most laps led tonight.
I think there's almost no way anybody else is going to get the most laps led tonight. They'd have to lead just about every lap the rest of the way, and we know this thing is going to get racy here at some point. Bottom of the racetrack has prevailed for now. Gavin Hibbs sucked up to the back bumper of Michael Hossack. That's bringing Ethan Stanley up into this front group. But because of that checkup now, as Richie Hearn leads the bottom, the outside line surges once again. Matthew Weeks is not the current Lucky Dog driver.
This looks like lap 1. Richie Hearn on the bottom and Ethan Burrell on that high side. But now 94 laps later, Richie Hearn's a lap down leading that bottom lane. It's just how things worked out right now, as Matthew Weeks will now be taking over that Lucky Dog position. Ethan Burrell still out front. I think they're going to try to drop back down to the bottom here once more likely David Tooker's able to clear himself. All those drivers in Discord chat together are probably going to be working together to know when to make that move.
Goody jumps to the top of the racetrack, gets in front of teammate Jesse Racimus, but that will open the door on the bottom for Michael Hossack to get to the back bumper of Richie Hearn. Gavin Hibbs behind him. Let's see if that group can generate a run on the bottom, but it seems like that top is just so strong. Goody, Racimus surged forward. Hibbs decides he's going up to the top of the racetrack now. Scott Crump, he'll try to the bottom. He's got Ryan Gable in tow.
Yeah, Pro Edge or Lake Norman now going to be trying to take to the bottom there. One's a lap down, one's a lead lap there of the 01. Here comes Matthew Weeks, wanting to make sure that he's going to be still the lead driver 1 lap down. Now going to try to work his way back into the front of this group to be the last driver on the lead lap. Only 21 drivers of this 43 car field still on the lead lap.
Now those front two, Matthew Weeks and Scott Crump, they have had their fair share of run-ins over the last couple of seasons, and those two guys are going to fight tooth and nail to get on the lead lap here in the event of a caution. But Weeks clears the top to go in front of his Pro Edge teammates once again. Crump's going to have to fight back on the bottom of the racetrack.
It wasn't that long ago that we saw a car turn off the front of Scott Crump there, as that bottom lane is starting to check up once again. I think it's something with the Toyotas. They are so strong. You see, whenever they lead a group, they're able to get those lanes moving. But whenever one of the other manufacturers jumps to the lane, it just dies away. So I think there's something with these Toyotas making them super fast here tonight.
Yeah, I think it's the drivers behind the wheel of those front four, man. Those guys are really running well. How about Ty McIntosh, man? Running third, he's kind of just embedded himself in this Pro Edge group, and honestly, that's probably the smartest thing he could do at this point. Just wedge yourself in there, pretend like you are one of the Pro Edge drivers. They'll probably not notice that you're actually a Ship Esports Ford, and he has stayed right there in line. He hasn't voided out. He hasn't made any aggressive moves. He's simply just been the car behind Tate Lytle for the last 20 or 30 laps, and he's been able to stay on cycle with their pit stops. I think Ty McIntosh is in a really good spot to be able to win this race later on. But we like we said, you got to get there, and you got to get there on the lead lap. Ty McIntosh is actually doing that very well right now in that 35 car.
If he wins, we'll call him the chameleon, as he's able to to find a way to be able to work himself into these strategies with these Lake Norman and Pro Edge drivers and still be able to be one of those top 7 drivers as they have a 10-second lead over the next pack behind them.
If that's 10 seconds, it's come down just a little bit. It was 11.5 when we were looking at it earlier. That's Chad Frankenfield and Tyler Bodie. Yeah, those guys are gaining slightly on this pack running double file. I don't think it's really enough.
Oh, they lost there.
If I'm being honest, it's just not going to be enough to gain. They're not going to close that under green, but they aren't going to go a lap down. And I think that's the important factor.
Again, the more we gain this pack up, the more chances of something going wrong, especially when these drivers are going to be more, let's say, anxious to get up to the front. And that's when we'll see something occur. Right now, these drivers are starting to get to that point. You're already starting to see drivers starting to be a little bit more aggressive on the push as this group gets larger and larger.
Yeah, there's going to be a point at which the wick turns up. But remember now, there's only 7 cars in this big front pack that are on the lead lap. So, those cars are going to have to parse their way through a bunch of lapped cars. That might tone down the intensity just a little bit because Ethan Stanley's buried in this field in 7th place. Like, he is way further back than the rest of his group, his comrades that are up here on the top, and then Ryan Gable. Like, there's not a whole lot of places for Ethan Stanley to go, and there are no friends among those lapped cars because all those guys want to be right where Matthew Weeks and Scott Crump are, the leaders of these lines. And right now, Michael Goodman's fighting with Scott Crump for that lucky dog spot. So Goody's the only one in position right now to take advantage of that lucky dog, and everybody else is kind of stuck behind.
Well, if you remember, whenever that group started to come up on them, he jumped up as soon as he could to get into that outside lane. Right now, the bottom lane is surging, but it is a battle between Scott Crump and Goody there for that lucky dog position. Right now, it is Goody just by a nose right in front of Scott Crump. But again, they have to hope for something that we have yet to see the entire day, and that is a yellow flag. It has been green flag for the first half of this race. Great racing for these drivers, very clean driving. As these drivers are getting further and further along in this race, those lap counters are going to be getting smaller and smaller. That opportunity of victory is going to be in sight here for some of these drivers shortly.
Yeah, it is. And big shout to Ty McIntosh, the other guy without really a teammate up here that let that teammate in. You mentioned it. It's Jesse Racimus. He's a do-good car this season, and he let Michael Goodman up in that top lane right in front. Now that's a teammate he can work with, even if it's one off the lead lap. So Jesse gets a friend up here to help fight against the team combos we've been talking about all race long. And as Scott Crump does surge forward past Michael Goodman for now, at that bottom lane, working forward behind the help of Crump and Ryan Gable, the do-good guys can work together a little bit here and hopefully kind of buoy Jesse Racimus against the oncoming onslaught of all these Pro Edge Toyotas up in front of them, including Ty McIntosh, of course. Pretty sure that's a Pro Edge Toyota.
Oh, yeah, that's the Chameleon. The Chameleon. He's the Chameleon. That's his superpowers there. But, yeah, right now, I do believe we will have one more green flag pit stop going to be occurring before the end of the second stage. So there is still more pit stops if it goes green from here that you have to play out. So, I mean, right now, drivers that practice pit stop practicing to nail those pit stops down is coming in strong and helpful right now. As I think you'd have to nail all 3 of these pit stops that we've had to be able to be in this front pack.
Absolutely, yeah. And we've seen pit stops already kind of derail a few different races. Brent Jones went through. Matthew Weeks is only a lap down because of that very first pit stop when he missed his pit box. It's a very small mistake, but one that with a race that has gone green flag quite like this one, those mistakes are much more magnified because there are fewer opportunities to make up time on the racetrack, make up laps, and make up opportunities. So, these Pro Edge Toyotas, right, they're going to have to be very cautious on pit road entry. Do not speed, and you've got to stay together here on pit road, because if you lose one of your group, then all of a sudden Lake Norman has the 2 cars with you, and they can fight against you kind of with even numbers.
Chad Frankenfield just got sent by Fody. He went underneath the yellow line, coming back up. They were incredibly running some fast lap times, a second faster almost coming to the line. But right before that incident happened, Chad's going to get back in line. But they were just gotten underneath 8 seconds from the lead lap, catching almost, like I said, 0.7 of a second. But there are only 3 drivers in that group, so that just goes to show you. I mean, if some of these guys, when it gets closer to the end, if they're able to play some kind of strategy and there are strong pushers involved, they can be able to clear themselves from a bigger group. As you see right there, they're going to try to get back in line, but they've lost all their momentum.
I am impressed, right, with Tyler Fody and Chad Frankenfield right here, and Ryan Schold as well. They have cut that lead down to 9 seconds. It was 11.5. They've gained 2.5 seconds.
Yeah,
It's coming. It's down underneath 9 again. Now Fody's back on the back bumper of the 15. They're able to recover from a moment like that a lot quicker than the big pack would. I think the big issue now is Fody's hot, right? That car is definitely going to be overheating to some extent. It would almost be easier if Schuld were able to push Chad and let Fody cool that 40 car and then get back in front. But having to change would cost them a bunch of time.
Yeah, we're going to see right here. This is some really good pushing from these 3 drivers here. I would have to guess they're going to be about 0.6 of a second faster than this lead group.
Yeah, Fody has to come off Chad Frankenfield's bumper. That gives Schuld a chance to push Fody and get Fody cool down, but keep this group running that same speed. And as Schuld pushes Fody up towards Chad, it's going to allow them to continue to gain. And look at that, 8.5 seconds. They gained a half second that lap.
Yeah, almost 0.6 of a second. Yeah, that's working.
It is absolutely working. The leaders just came out of turn 2 right there. They've got a long way to go. They've got to do this and repeat this up until pit stops, and then they've got to come off pit road really well and stay engaged. And if that is the case, they will be able to catch this group with the amount of laps left, but they've got to be really, really strong on those pit stops. And if there's even a smallest of mistakes, that'll be it for this group of 3, and they would end up falling back into the clutches of that next pack.
Yeah, out front, though, they are back to the high side, just running that high side lane down or up there. Who we saw do that in real life a lot was Dale Earnhardt Jr. Even when he joined us in our online racing here with an Elite, he would run that high side lane. It's just something about that high side lane where you don't have to worry about anyone jumping to the outside, and you just focus on going around that wall. It just leads to just security up there, and that's what we're seeing it from those Pro Edge drivers, not really having to worry about anything running that high lane.
Look at the gap for Frankenfield, Fody, and Schuld. It's down into 7 seconds. They have figured it out. The way if Dave, if we can go back, they are showing us how you can make up time. Oh well, it only works as long as you don't spin out the car in front. That's the only way it doesn't work. But Chad almost got spun out, but the only way it's Tyler Fody, not Frank there. Yeah, they just see Chad's behind him. They got sideways. They're coming off a 4, but the way it had been working was Fody would tandem draft with Chad till they got to the back straightaway, and they would let Chad get away a little bit. He'd drag the brake. Ryan Schuld would then tandem draft with Fody all the way around through 3 and 4 like they're doing right here and get all the way back to Chad, and then Fody would switch onto Chad and then tandem draft with Chad there all the way through the rest of the lap. So they're currently switching back to get Chad back up in front because that's how it was working the best. And unfortunately, that's going to cost them pretty much all their time. Yeah, they're back over 8 seconds.
Yeah, they're going to be back where they were when they started, but they're going to try again. I mean, they've only got time at this point. There's still 90 laps.
This is a very entertaining group because Tyler Fody and Chad Frankenfield have had their share of disagreements, but it is very clear that the order is this order right here.
Look at that timer go down, though.
It is. Oh, yeah. And Fody's obviously being so aggressive with Chad because he knows Chad can hold the wheel pretty straight.
And he doesn't feel bad if he wrecks him.
Exactly. And Schuld is the key in this cog, though, because every time Fody either bumps into Chad a little bit or gets separated from Chad, Schuld has to be ready to attach to that 40 car and shove it forward back into Chad's rear bumper. And they've done that very well. I mean, look at that. They've already gained that half second they lost back, and they're going to gain even more if they can just keep this method up. With a very clean and green race. This is very entertaining stuff. Watching these 3 guys try to overcome a very massive deficit.
Yeah, I mean, it's a win-win. It's a win-win for Fody. I mean, if it works, he's back on the lead lap. If it doesn't work, Well, then he wrecked Chad, and he's back on the lead lap again. So it doesn't really matter too much
Look
for
at that.
Cody there. Yeah,
They gained a second that lap.
Yeah, second. I told you. It just takes a small group. I've never seen the Cup cars at Daytona where a small group like this in the Cup Series can be able to run faster lap times than a big group. And you're seeing it right here.
They're gaining. They're visually gaining on the front pack. I mean, they're into the 6-second bracket now. They gained almost another second. And this method is it's very, very intriguing to me because it relies on all three drivers, right? They can't do this without Ryan Schuld. Fody can't just push Chad without Schuld getting back to his bumper and shoving him back up to Chad. Oh, Fody running into some connection issues. He did mention that that might be a problem tonight, but looks like it's okay. Oh,
Hold on.
Oh! And there's the connection issue. Fody spinning through the grass.
Oh boy. Well, that was fun.
And that will effectively ruin the opportunity to get back through there. Schuld ended up inside Fody, and that wasn't going to work.
Well,
and there were two.
Dang. So close.
So that was fun to watch for a little bit. Back up to the front where Pro Edge is dominating the event. At the front of the field, they do have a new driver trying to get that bottom lane. That is Ryan Gable back down there with now help from the 90, trying to see if they can be able to work their way up there. There are right now about 17 laps before the end of the next stage. They will have to pit one more time before then. So again, pit stops are going to be a key factor, but did Lake Norman learn from what they did last time and pit with Pro Edge rather than trying to go off sequence with them? Because it didn't work out for them. They lost one of their drivers of Ryan or Robert or I'm Tyler Robin with doing that. So they've got to correct their mistake this time.
Yeah, they will need to, I think make an adjustment on how they decide to make that pit stop. And obviously they have Scott Crump up here now. He'll certainly come down pit road with Stanley and Gable. Stanley's at the back of this field. He's, like I said earlier, he's just mired. There's not much Ethan Stanley can do at this point beyond sending it 3 wide against lapped cars who are not going to go with him. So he's just going to have to ride and try to make up ground when they do decide to finally pit.
Did Tyler Fody come down pit road, or did he?
No.
He missed that other group too.
Yeah.
He missed the other group. He's now 27 seconds behind the leader.
Yeah.
That is not what he wanted to have happen.
Yeah, and Chad Frankenfield and Schuld are just losing time. I mean, they needed the 3 car there to work, and it did. It really worked. But obviously just the slightest of connection issues for that 40 car, and it all went haywire, and it cost all 3 of them a chance to make up that ground and join this front pack. And I mean, they were giving it their all there, and it just barely ended up not working out.
Now the question is, did Tyler Fody relay that to his teammates on how to be able to make that work? Because there are 3 of them up there. One of them is a lap down. There is 3 Lake Norman cars up there. Maybe they can make it work. Because again, if those 3 drivers are driving it like that, they don't need a big group to be able to get far and away from the field.
Right, and you have to find clean track to be able to do that as well. But I don't know if Tyler Fody can relay quite exactly what was going on right there, because it seemed like they had a lot of time to line that up, right? I mean, they had 20 laps or so to try and figure out how to best do that. And I don't know, maybe the comfort of just driving together with that group was able to kind of give them the understanding to make those moves. But if Fody can relay it, that would be the way, right? Lake Norman pit a little bit early and then try to run that 3-car tandem to push forward. As Fody has joined that group in the back, that's about
35 seconds.
35 seconds off the lead pack. So tough break for Tyler Fody as this front group is starting to get ready for pit stops.
Yeah, and more than likely with that pit stops coming up shortly, if any of these from the group that's only about, I would say 8 seconds in front of them drop off from pit stops, they'll be gaining more to this big pack.
3 wide-ish in the back of that big pack. That was Racimus, Jess Story, Justin Wadsworth, and Josh Clark, who's up at the top there. They are 3 wide in this pack, and that is going to separate this pack a little bit because the front group is now single file. And these guys in the mid-pack, that includes Jesse Racimus and Ethan Stanley. Racimus has fallen back. He and Goody got hung up on the outside, and now Racimus can't get to the bottom.
Yeah, that's not great for Racimus, as he is one of those lead lap drivers in that group. He is now going to be 2 seconds behind this pack. If pit stops are to occur here shortly, that is not going to be very beneficial for him.
Yeah, Racimus is going to need to clear Justin Wadsworth right here. The 2 wide racing behind this lead group is causing them to fall off the back, and that includes lead lap car Jesse Racimus, and he just cannot get to the bottom.
No, they're about to lose the draft at this point. They can't get it straightened up or get it going. They are side by side, and they're not going anywhere.
Yeah, no push from Josh Clark to the back of Racimus. No brake being cut from Corey Abbott or Jess Story. Those are not team cars. To the Do Good Motorsports number 70 up top. Racimus looking for help to get down to the bottom. It looks like that bottom lane is surging forward, but unfortunately, Racimus's car surging back once they've arrived, and he just does not have anywhere to get down to.
Yeah, pit stops are going to be occurring here.
Next lap,
probably
maybe?
In the next lap here, I believe, from a few of these drivers.
Well, Norgard has jumped to the top. He might not be pitting this lap. He's been riding around in this pack the whole time, so maybe Norgard is interested in trying to, stay out a lap and see if he can't make up some ground.
What do you think the 35 of McIntosh, the Chameleon, is going to do here?
He's following Tate Lytle everywhere. He might follow Tate Lytle into Tate Lytle's pit
His
box.
foot is resting on the brake every time they come out of turn 4 in case of those Pro Edge guys slam on the brakes. So he's going to make sure he goes in with them.
Oh yeah, he's waiting. They call out their pitting. Ties. I'm pitting too. I'm with them.
This isn't a Ford, it's a Toyota.
Yep.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, exactly. That's the play right now. Those guys have dominated this race. You have got to stay on their strategy. If you are Ty McIntosh, Ryan Gable, Ethan Stanley, and even Racimus, you absolutely must stay on their strategy. Darren Staff was sideways on the apron that last time through turn 1 and 2. 55 is going to be all right, but no caution, it looks like. But I think these guys are anxious. I think they're heading down pit road this time.
Yeah, we're about to see it here as coming out of turn 4 is where we're going to be looking at. As I believe.
Yeah, I think they're coming.
No.
Nope. They hang on.
Again, they're not. I don't think Pro Edge wants to let these other guys know. I think Pro Edge would much rather some more drivers drop off, if you can believe it or not. There's only 7 cars on the in this lead group on the lead lap, but they would like it to just be 4 or 3 of them actually. that's on the lead group, so they just called it out. They are coming down pit road this time.
Here they go. Yeah, it makes sense, right? We're at lap 122. It looks like we've run about 40 and a half to 41 per cycle. So only one more stop in this race after this one.
If you can believe it, Pro Edge said they were coming down, and McIntosh immediately after says, "Me too."
Yep. Exactly, and McIntosh following Ethan Burrell in up top, but McIntosh has to get down. He's the very first pit stall. Is he going to get there? I think he missed his pit box.
I think
I think Ty missed his pit box because Ty is the very first pit stall. He's 43rd, isn't he? Oh wait, maybe he might be up at the front because of the overlap in pit stalls. Yeah, Ty's up at the front. Look, he's sharing a pit stall with David Tucker.
He is Pro Edge.
He is a Pro Edge.
He's got the same pit crew and everything. They're changing the tires with Pro Edge. The 1935, can't tell the difference. They got the same people, same tires even.
That is spectacular. I did say he was going to go into
He's a chameleon. I'm telling you.
Tate Lytle has taken the lead now over Ethan Burrell. Ryan Gable has gotten up to 3rd after a really good pit cycle for that 0-1. A good pit cycle by Ethan Stanley has jumped him in front of David Tooker. Ty McIntosh obviously right there between them in the top 5. Stanley and Tooker are not done fighting. They are fighting on the apron right now.
Yeah, they were side by side all the way around the turn there. They were not giving each other any breath there. It looks like all 7 drivers should still be on this lead lap. Justin Racines is still kind of touch and go here. He's got to hope
there.
that.
Yep.
Yeah, he should be okay.
He should be fine. Yep. Front group in front is coming down pit road. That includes Tyler Fody, Seth Rawls, Justin Fortner, Dusty Dewar. And they all make it on pit road safely. So another group comes down pit road and they make it down to pit road without any trouble. There's a fight in the front pack here. David Tooker and Matthew Weeks are tandem drafting by Ethan Stanley.
There is a stage point going to be awarded in 6 laps, so they do see that coming up. They would like to get some more Pro Edge drivers at the front. So very selfish, wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah, so selfish, right? That's the team working together to the betterment of the team. How dare they? Jesse Racines to the top.
Oh boy, Matthew Weeks cut right in front of Ethan Stanley. Ethan was not going to give it to him. It almost hooked that 11 around.
Yep, and Richie Hearn up in this pack, Kyle Hanshaw up in this pack. Everybody else has faded way off this pack. Not sure if these guys just had the better communication or what, but a fairly disastrous set of cycles for Scott Crump and the entire rest of that lap down contingent, other than Matthew Weeks, Richie Hearn, and Kyle Hanshaw.
I'm really surprised more of those lap down cars did not come with this lead group.
They did. They came down with them. They just did not get off pit road as well as this group.
Well, that's why these lead lap group is the lead lap group, because they are able to do that. I mean, that's effectively what has caused who you see at the front of the field are the best pitters.
Yep.
There's no question. It's not who's the best at drafting, who's the best at leading a line. It's effectively who's able to come on and off pit road in the most efficient manner, and that's who you're seeing of these 7 drivers. If you're not able to do that, you're not in this lead group.
Yeah. Matthew Weeks almost made contact with Ethan Stanley. Now he jumped to the top. David Tooker's going to go up there and try to pick up his teammate. Stanley, and they're going to work past Scott Crump and a few others here coming off pit road, but Stanley's hung out to dry. Racines jumps to the outside behind Weeks, and Ethan Stanley will drop back to 7th.
It is slowly starting to tick down here, but there is a few cars to challenge these Pro Edge. They're not as lined up as well as they would like to, like they were in the last stage. They are split up just a little bit here with some drivers. So now the question is when do the moves get made by some of these other drivers that are not Pro Edge?
Here comes that other group that was waiting to pit. There's Norgard, Josh Clark, Johnny Thomas.
That's the group that doesn't make sense to me.
Right.
They did not come down pit road with the lead group. They are going to now lose that lead group draft again and potentially get further and further behind. At least if they would have pit with that lead group, they could be hopefully hook on to the end of them and battle for the lucky dog. Now they're not even going to have a chance.
Right. Richie Hearn in the wall. Bounced off of it. Stanley jumped by. He did not lose the draft yet. But that almost cost Ethan Stanley this front pack. And woes continue for guys fighting with Matthew Weeks to try and grab this lucky dog. Weeks has had it pretty much under control since he went a lap down. And he has not relinquished his hold on that spot.
Weeks does not get the lucky dog for some reason with a caution coming out of some way, shape, or form. It's going to be criminal because he has earned it at this point. He is kicking himself so much for that very first pit stop. But here comes David Tooker. He's going to try to make a move to the bottom lane, get around some of those other drivers to see if they can get up there.
They're shuffling out the chameleon. He finally read the manufacturer.
He was an honorary Pro Edge driver. That's just wrong.
I think, and Tooker's trying to keep that momentum up and get around Brian Gable as well. But unfortunately for him, Gable saw it coming through the block on. Ty's going to get back in this pack. He's up in 7th. He's still a part of this lead group. Don't worry, Ty McIntosh fans. He's still got a chance, but for now, the battle is really against these Pro Edge Toyotas. As Tate Lytle trying to win himself a stage in this Daytona 500. Tate did say before the race on Twitter, he was like, "Well, I think the season starts after Daytona. It starts after the chaos of this race." But here he is, hunting for a stage win, and he's going to have to contend with not only his teammates but also those Lake Norman Chevys.
Yeah, I don't know what Ryan Gable was doing there. He jumped to the outside with 2 Pro Edge drivers behind him, trying to pass 2 other Pro Edge. They didn't go with him.
Yeah, no, they did not.
Shockingly, they did not
did
go
not.
with him. He is now jumping down to the bottom. He is going to have a help from his teammate there.
Yep.
Ethan Stanley.
This is the stage.
This is going to be a determination. Are those two drivers, do they have their engine cooled up where they can hook up and push themselves out to the front? Right now, it's Lake Norman up top, Pro Edge up top, Lake Norman on the bottom.
Yep, Ryan Gable working down to the bottom of the Tate Lytle. He's got help from teammate Ethan Stanley. Matthew Weeks is helping him along. But up top, it's Tate Lytle and Ethan Burrell, and they have worked perfectly together all day. The edge is up to the outside with Pro Edge here coming out of turn 4.
Yeah, it's gonna come right down to the line. Who's able to hook up better right now? The 91 and the 01 on the bottom are pushing, but here comes the surge from the outside and to the line. It's gonna be Tate Lytle getting the stage win.
And 10 more points for Tate. I think that's 19 total on the race. Ethan Burrell, 19 points, got himself a stage 1 win. Very, very nice work for those guys. Big time points for Ethan Burrell and Tate Lytle in a year where I think Ethan Burrell is as hungry as ever to go out and grab himself a championship. This is a great way to start. And hey, how about Ty McIntosh? Went in there, picked up 6th place stage points. He has been up here all day long. He certainly deserves them.
Well, we have dropped down to only 17 cars on the lead lap now. It's getting shorter and shorter as there is a group of cars only about 6 seconds in front of the leader that may go a lap down here before it's said and done. That will drop it down to only 11 cars on the lead lap. So it is starting to shape up as to who we're going to be looking at here.
Yeah, and if that group goes a lap down, and then Chris Wright and Jake Scarborough go a lap down, I mean, you're at 9 cars, and I think Chad and Ryan Schultz could also theoretically go a lap down in these final 70 laps.
You know who appreciates these green flag laps? That's probably Chad's statistic books of green flag laps that he will share with us for the rest of the season. Look how many green flag laps we had.
Yep.
Didn't matter. It was 200 laps at Daytona.
Absolutely right. And he does love his green flag percentages, but for now, these guys have split apart so effectively that it has made pretty much it has made a lot of racing a formality here. And you can see, I mean, the Pro Edge group has just kind of pulled away. Jesse Racine is currently the fourth place driver. He's got 3 lapped cars in between him and that group up top. Are we still there?
Yeah.
Flicker in and out. We're flickering in and out on Dave's broadcast a little bit, I believe. There we are.
Oh, then, well, there we go.
There, we're back. Racine is trying to push Matthew Weeks up there, but
you said one more pit stop. I think we have 2 more pit stops still left.
No, because they've been pitting about every 40 laps, right? So that was 122. That was 122. The next one will be around 160, and then they'll go to the end.
Maybe, yeah, you might be right. Yeah, it's gonna be close. Yep. They're gonna be only a few laps left on fuel, maybe.
Yeah, they'll be running it low coming down to the end, but I think they'll probably stay in this group of 7, somewhat single file or very little racingness until at least lap 190.
You remember when Chad Frankenfield was only about 6 seconds back from the group? He's now 27 seconds back, and he's losing almost half a second a lap here.
Can you imagine if they had made it up, man? Oh, disappointed on that, because getting Chad and Tyler Fody into this group, that might have spiced this up dramatically.
What I don't understand is why Fody didn't, he fell back into that other group. Why didn't he says, hey, watch this, I know how to get up there, and try with the other group? He has not. He's relegated himself to the back of that group there.
I think you have to be in a 3-car group. I just don't think you can pull away from the cars around you doing that. But if you are in a 3-car group by yourself, you can tango your way forward. As Jesse Racine is utilizing Matthew Weeks' speed on the bottom of the racetrack, and he is starting to pull forward. Another development is that the lapped group led by Josh Personet has arrived with this lead group and is going to
I think they're saving fuel.
Lengthen it.
These guys are lifting right now. They are running very much slower. Chad Frankenfield, which is only in a 2-car group, almost picked up a second. So yeah, they are I think it's closer than you expect.
I think it'll be close, but I don't know. I felt like they've run pretty well.
I mean,
Pretty well 40 laps every time.
Big lift. That was a big lift by these guys. Now,
And
maybe they were just trying to let Matthew Weeks back in front.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. Is they want Weeks to lead because Weeks can kind of lead them around. But Jesse Racimus is now the race leader. Ty McIntosh running second because those guys worked up on the bottom of the racetrack, got that momentum. Tate Lytle's now at the line. They're no longer lifting. That's for sure. Those Pro Edge guys, I think, were waiting for Matthew Weeks to get up there.
Another second loss on the racetrack, though. We'll see. Maybe. I mean, honestly, that's the best thing going for Pro Edge, having Matthew Weeks, who is a lap car in front of them, a teammate to work with. They can trust him, and he's a lap down. Technically on the lead lap in the back, but not effectively for the win. Maybe plays team orders here and essentially uses all the fuel leading the group with the scenario of it being close on fuel, and decides to lead that group.
That's exactly what they're doing. They were trying to get Matthew Weeks up there to lead the line, and he burned more fuel that way. And right now, Ty and Racimus trying to work together on the bottom. It's just not working nearly as well. This outside line has just kept momentum the whole race long. They've done such a wonderful job at controlling the race, and you can see right there, they're alongside Ethan Stanley and Ryan Gable. It was like Norman Chevy's trying their damnedest to keep things even with this Pro Edge group, but it is just an uphill battle right now because they have control of this race.
Now, the only thing I'll say is if these lap cars start working together and they work around and they allow that to happen, then then it backfired on them. That's the only thing they got to hope, because their group was relatively small, of only about maybe 11 cars. Now they've effectively made it almost a 20-car group. They just got to hope maybe that some of these cars don't decide that they're done seeing the Pro Edge cars at the top of the board.
I don't know if there's a whole lot they can do about it right now. I mean, even as much as we've seen the tandem work, anytime you've gotten 3 or 4 of these Pro Edge Toyotas lined up at the top of the track, they have pretty much not lost the lead up there. Whatever they've got, they've kind of played it similar to the 2006, 2007 kind of style of Talladega, where there was one really good line, and if you controlled that, you controlled the race, and you saw like Dale Jr. control it, you saw Jimmy Johnson control it really well. It's how it feels right now with these Pro Edge Toyotas.
They do have a surge of lap down cars starting to come on that bottom, though.
Yeah,
they have formed up pretty well on that bottom lane, better than we've seen in a little while.
This is Joshua Personette in that 18 car for Fueled Up Racing, team that lost 3 of its drivers right at the beginning of this race due to connection issues. Personette getting pushed by Josh Clark, who is, guess who, another Pro Edge Toyota.
Just so happened the only fueled up car that's still on the racetrack is the one that has Corona. So I don't know what to say about that. But yeah, right now it looks like Personette running that bottom lane is starting to make his way up to that front. They are breaking apart just a little bit. I think it's when Pro Edge decides they need to get away, they go fast, and when they don't, they don't. It kind of reminds me of Stuart Haas whenever that one year they showed up, when they just had ultimately just so much faster cars in the field that they really had control of the whole momentum of it.
Yeah, and if you think back to that race, the guy who led all the laps, I want to say it was Clint Boyer, it might have been Kurt Busch. They did not win the race, right? Tate Lytle and Ethan Burrell have been the ones who led all the laps so far. If we stayed true to that form, it'd be David Tooker who takes home the checkered flag in about 60 laps.
Now remember, they let this group that's on this bottom lane catch up. If there's a wreck and they get involved, all I'm saying is they brought that upon themselves with trying to play these games.
And Personette trying to get back on the lead lap. If he bypasses Lytle, he would get to that point. Right now, he is the lucky dog car. If he stays in front of Richie Hearn, he is the lucky dog car. Josh Clark trying to move Personette forward. Johnny Thomas is in this group. Leighton Norgard is in this group. Some really good drafters, man. Josh Clark was in the top 3 of last year's Daytona 500. This group is very strong on the bottom of the racetrack. They just obviously missed that pit stop down there early in the race. Fell out of this draft, and obviously with Norgard, he got spun sideways in turn 1 there. And if not for that, what could have been? This whole group is very, very racy, very fast.
Effectively about 20 laps before they have to pit again. So again, they're going to be looking at that as well. Right now, they are all on that outside lane. You would think that if they were trying to worry about fuel, I don't think it is a concern, because why would you run the very high lane if you were concerned? But it has been the Pro Edge's MO so far this race, has just been controlling that outside lane and effectively controlling the flow of the race.
Yeah, it's been the way they want to roll things, and it's working for now. That's all you can say. I mean, for now, Tate Lytle is not like the race leader on the track, but he's comfortable and he's in a spot where he feels safe, and that's all you can ask for as a competitor, is to try and feel safe and secure at a track like Daytona. It's not easy, but I think this group has gotten so comfortable up running the top of the racetrack, up in a line. My question is, at what point does Ethan Burrell say, I haven't won a Daytona 500, I'm going for this, and the teamwork kind of leave off?
Probably the last 50 feet.
Yeah, that's the question. But then when does David Tooker decide, I want myself a Daytona 500? You know, like these guys are gonna have to sort that out, because the last thing you want is to wreck each other, come into the line and lose a race you've controlled so well.
Well, I think we're due for one more commercial break before we get to the 50 laps remaining. If Dave wants to take us away to our next commercial break here,
I can do that. Here we go.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
The Bommarito Automotive Group 500 at Worldwide Technology Raceway is not just a race, it's a spectacle. Friday, August 16th and Saturday, August 17th. The race everyone talks about. The Bommarito Automotive Group 500, only at Worldwide Technology Raceway. Go to WWTRaceway.com now, because the first deal is the best deal. Brought to you in part by the Illinois Office of Tourism and Discover Downstate Illinois.
All right, you're watching the Belly Up Sports Cup Series. The Internet Sports Bar, Belly Up Sports, is a commentary via podcast, forums, and articles on topics ranging to nearly every sport. Not your usual sports site. Check them out on X or at bellyupsports.com. Our race sponsor is Homeplace Beer. Homeplace brews sessionable farm-to-pint beers using lots of local ingredients from Yancey County, North Carolina. At Homeplace, you'll find plenty of lagers, table beers, hoppy American and malty English beers, and some mixed culture fermentations. Our premier sponsors for this season: Blue Egg Marketing. Rev up your business with Blue Egg, your marketing pit crew. Turbocharge your lead generation with experienced drivers that can navigate the competitive track to connecting your customers. With Blue Egg, you're always in a pole position, leading your brand toward victory lane. Don't spin your wheels. Accelerate success with Blue Egg, fueling small businesses to win big. Worldwide Technology Raceway is a motorsport racing facility in Madison, Illinois, just east of St. Louis, Missouri. Features a 1.25-mile oval that hosts the NASCAR Cup Series, the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, and the NTT IndyCar Series. They have a 2-mile infield road course used by Speed Tour Trans Am, SCCA, and the Porsche Club of America. There's a quarter-mile NHRA sanctioned drag strip that hosts an annual NHRA Camping World Drag Racing Series Midwest Nationals event. And finally, they have the Kartplex, a state-of-the-art karting facility. Finally, our new sponsor this year is 4D Racewear, makers of the ultimate sim racing shoes and custom apparel designed for sim racing by sim racers. 4D sim racing shoes are custom engineered to connect racers to the pedals in a way no other racing shoe can, and still provide all the comfort needed for those double and triple sticks. Visit 4dracewear.com and check out the original racing gloves for your feet. That is our sponsors for tonight, gentlemen.
Some sponsors. We're glad to have them for this race, and obviously had to get them in under green. We haven't had any caution flags during which to discuss the sponsors and run those over. And Gerald, this would be pretty special if we were able to run us a caution-free Daytona 500. I know we got 50 laps to go, but it is time to start thinking about it. These drivers are definitely thinking about it. They have not had a break from green flag racing in around 2 hours now, and they've still got nearly an hour to go.
Yeah, a lot of times you like to talk about on these long races, you know, the wear of the car, the wear of the tires, wear of the track. But no one ever talks about the wear of the mental mind on these types of races here. We have gone essentially hours where these drivers have had nothing more than listening to the auto-tune of their engine for this entire race. There's not been a break. There's not been a point in time where they can rest or take a breather. It has been going hard from the get-go here, and you know, if we do have a situation, it might come from maybe some mental fatigue. That it's a slip up from somebody. That's really where it's coming from. I'm seeing some of these drivers, they're not able to keep a straight line, and it's not due to the car, and it's not due to the wind. It's just simply that they are burnt up in the car right now with how relentless this race has been so far.
I got a very aggravated text from Tyler Fody, who is single file about 35 seconds behind this front pack. He is unhappy after having a couple of different instances where he lost the draft due to an awkward push from a car around him, and you know, that you're talking about mental fatigue. That'll really set in on you. Where Fody knows he had a strategy to get back up into the pack after, you know, being a race leader in this race and having that opportunity to go up there and win. It's been taken from him, and neither time did the caution flag fly for the incidents involving that 40 car. Now he's stuck well back in this pack, hoping for a caution against hope.
Yeah, again, these drivers are starting to buckle up here because they know that they have a pit stop coming in 7 more laps. And for some of these leaders here, this is the final time for them to essentially be perfect on these pit stops. They were perfect. They had to have been perfect up to this point, because if you were not perfect, you are simply not a shot at winning this race. So right now, these 7 drivers at the front of this pack have to be able to accomplish that again. Those drivers are Tate Lytle, Ethan Burrell, David Tooker, Ethan Stanley, Ryan Gable, Ty McIntosh, and Jesse Racines. Those 7 drivers, essentially up to this point, have been being able to run at 100% without mistakes, and they have to now be able to accomplish that for the next 45 laps here.
Yep, they got one more pit stop, gotta hit that, and then you've got to go through and hit your marks coming off of pit road. I think that's so crucial, because we saw what happens if a trio of cars gets way out in front. You know, this big pack, they were being caught very quickly by that trio of cars. Right now, they've got 5 cars back here, Chad Frankenfield and Ryan Schuld, in the top 10, trying very desperately to catch this front pack. They have made marginal gains, nowhere near as quick as when it was Tyler Fody with Schuld and Frankenfield.
They didn't treat that one Fody very nicely, so they got another one now after. See how that one goes.
I do want to note that Frank Fody is a lap down due to speeding on pit road on the last pit cycle.
I mean, again, you have to be perfect. You can't make mistakes, and unfortunately, Fody, with the lack of experience and everything, hasn't gotten it down pat just yet.
Can we watch Josh Robin? We were talking about the mental state of the race. Josh Robin is weaving down the back straightaway. He's about had it in that 8 car, man. He is frustrated. These guys running single file 30 seconds back. This takes some this takes some fortitude, and Robin obviously is hoping to have a little more fun.
Yeah, again, this is hours of just, for some of these drivers, been staying in a single file line. It's kind of like it's kind of like Bart Simpson writing on a chalkboard over and over again. It gets to you sometimes.
I would say there's 7 drivers who have absolutely no qualms with what's going on right now, and it's those 7 up on the outside behind Matthew Weeks. Those guys, they love it. This is going great. Exactly to plan. Everybody else in this field would sure love a caution to reset things.
Yeah, but I don't know how true that is for maybe some of those Lake Norman guys, because right now, I mean, they've tried multiple times with Sages to make it work, to get the wins, and they simply cannot outwit the pure edge that Pro Edge has. I like how I did that. But they got it down pat. So I don't think they win unless if they can get some more help up there.
Yeah, they've controlled the race perfectly, and we're seeing just a number of a number of drivers a bit frustrated, I think, as Ethan Stanley dove out behind David Tooker while we're on board with that 19 car. He jumped in front of Josh Personette, and that checked up that inside lane. But Stanley, I think, prepping for pit stops coming up very shortly, and making sure that he can get to the bottom of the racetrack, and also ensure that Ryan Gable can get down there once Gable clears by Stanley. And here he goes. Here come those Pro Edge Toyotas also right in front.
Yeah, they're hoping that they don't get caught up on that outside. There's effectively 5 Pro Edge, because you got to remember Tyler McIntosh is a chameleon.
No, that's true. That's true.
So 5 Pro Edge drivers on that outside lane.
I don't want to confuse our viewers too much. Ty McIntosh running for Shift Esports, but has kind of attached himself to the Pro Edge Toyotas the entire race. But here they come down to the bottom of the racetrack. I guess all 5 of them. McIntosh makes it to the bottom.
Yeah, I told you.
And now Jesse Racimus in the same spot he was last time. Same spot as last time through pit cycles. Racimus stuck up on the top, not able to get down. He's got Dustin Dewar behind him. Dewar, a very good plate track pusher, but he is a lap down, so maybe not so willing to get up there and potentially bump and slam draft that 70 car and try to get him clear of the Lake Norman cars. Looks like there's a hole behind Ethan Stanley if they can check up, but it hasn't happened yet.
Shout out to Jesse Racimus. Finally took our advice to get rid of the monster car. That was a lot of bad luck last season.
Until it won Daytona.
It did. I was getting to that. It did cause him to win a super speedway race, which he is now effectively showing that he is still very good at super speedway racing. But very nice paint scheme on his car that I had to notate. It was very, very nice looking to drive next to in that race last week. But yeah, good shout out to him. A lot better start of the season than it was last year.
Right. And he was on the pole for the Daytona 500 last year, but the chaos of that race, especially compared to the tameness of this race, has been a pretty stark contrast. And Racimus is maybe one of the biggest benefactors, where he's been able to maintain a very strong top 10 run all day long.
Well, they are in the window. The window has opened up. They can make it the rest of the way. So the question is, when do they come down pit road? It's essentially, for a lot of those drivers, whenever Pro Edge comes down, that's when they're going to come down. We are starting to see a little bit of a breakaway of the top 6 here, as Ethan Stanley is slowing down.
Big side draft by Jesse Racimus on Ethan Stanley. That slowed things up, and now Richie Hearn a little bit slow in front. Stanley side drafted again, and Hearn drops in front of Ethan Stanley. So Stanley getting a little bit abused on the bottom of the track in that 91 car, and Racimus is going to, I think, still be in the draft of Ryan Gable. That will not split this pack up entirely, but if the Pro Edge cars pit right now, there will be a small disadvantage to Jesse Racimus and Ethan Stanley.
Well, one thing I do say, with all the mental fatigue that these drivers had, are they still communicating correctly when they're coming down pit road, or is someone going to end up getting into the back of somebody here whenever they start to slow up going down pit road? That's one big issue that we have left to see here, is if everyone has been able to get down onto pit road safely.
Definitely this pit cycle, the most crucial of them all, and they've all been very important so far. But if one of these 7 does not make pit road perfectly, that is the end of their race effectively, because right now there's no guarantee a caution will fly.
No, not when it's off the racetrack down there. So it'd have to be back up at the top. So I don't think that's a big issue for the Pro Edge. They're communicating, but it's always going to be that one driver that doesn't know what's the game plan of the others.
Burrell up the track ever so slightly, giving some space to Tate Lytle on corner exit. Could this be pit stops? No, they stay above the yellow line. Burrell, I think, was just maybe giving it some space, getting a bit of a run, but they're running that bottom lane. Up behind, it's Josh Clark leading this top lane. Pro Edge leading every lane, it seems like right now. These guys just, they got a sense, man. They have such control of this race.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen a domination at a track by a single team. I've seen sometimes where, there's some team drivers up the front where they'll block both lanes and everything. They didn't need to do that. They didn't need to play any kind of strange game. Oh, we do have no spin. That broke away the pack. Oh, no.
Johnny Thomas got side. Oh, and here come the Pro Edge. Here come the Pro Edge cars.
That might have been the best thing for him.
Jesse Racimus slammed it down to the apron. He's going to do his best to slow up. Hopefully Racimus does not get a black flag. He had to make a big adjustment. I think that's going to be the end of it for Ryan Gable, who got big damage off of the front bumper of Johnny Thomas. And Racimus, I think, will make pit road speed. Oh,
that
almost
was a little crazy there.
That was
they
almost
said something might happen from fatigue and who was planning things. I'm not sure exactly what ended up happening, but let's see how they come off of pit road.
Was there a spin there on pit road entry in the back? Maybe
No,
not. I think they just slid the tires.
Wow, the best thing that happened for some of those drivers in that pack that got split away was that everyone came down pit road that time. If Pro Edge had decided to stay out one more lap, I think it would have just been Pro Edge and literally Ty McIntosh leading the race. I think they missed out on an opportunity of going one more lap and leaving them out to dry.
Yeah, Ryan Gable is in this pack with a very no nose in that 0-1. Also, Tay Lytle just jumped to the top and fell to the back of the
visual glitch. It might be just a visual glitch because that's way too much speed for a driver with no front bumper.
Yeah. Ty and Stanley are in this pack, presuming they can get up to speed here.
He says he has a minute of damage. Yeah, he has a minute and a half damage on it, so he does. It's not just visual.
Seems to be okay for now. Chad and Schuld and them are coming off of turn 2 right now.
Shout out to Jesse Racimus. Wow,
yeah,
incredible move to get himself. He's in the third in line there. Incredible, him just diving it down to make up that time lost with that checkup to effectively make it to where it didn't matter at all for him.
Yeah, that was a race-saving move by Jesse Racimus, and now he is up in third right now on the back bumper of David Tooker and splitting apart these Pro Edge Toyotas.
Very thin layer.
Yeah, then Ryan Gable with some damage in fifth. McIntosh and Stanley still in this front pack. Stanley's got to fight through the lapped Pro Edge Toyota of Josh Clark before he even gets up to the next lead lap car of McIntosh.
Yeah, Jesse Racimus is a very thin layer of peanut butter between very thick loaves of bread of the Pro Edge. He is not in a safe place.
No.
He is one turn away from them deciding to get him out of the line from those Pro Edge. I think they're waiting to see if they can push away just enough right now as you see them all start to team up and get enough speed. I think they're wanting to get away from that big pack of lap down cars to effectively make it just these lead lap drivers racing it out. And right now they are running some really fast times on the racetrack.
Yeah, they are. This is the group, man. This is it. Barring a caution, this is your race for the win right here. The winner would come from one of these 7 drivers, and that's, it's expected. It's expected for some, but I don't know that Jesse Racimus and Ty McIntosh were necessarily expecting to be in this situation.
If Ryan Gavel's able to win without a front bumper and a race with no cautions, that would be I don't know how. That would be something else. A race of no cautions, winning the race without a front bumper for the last 40 laps.
We go actually take a look at what happened to Ryan Gable, if we can. It was lap 160. 3 coming to the pit road. Might be a small task for us, but that was
Yeah,
a
we're
pretty
gonna have to
big
go back
incident.
the hard way.
That's all right. I'll let us know if anything happens. Josh Clark is looking to the top of the racetrack here with some help. The Scott Crump Dusty Doer group has caught the race leaders.
Did not flag anything on the.
That's remarkable. It might have been Johnny Thomas because Johnny was the one who got sideways.
I think it was Johnny Thomas that got sideways. Yeah.
But if it didn't flag anything, I mean, that means they kept it that straight. And how disappointing for the Pro Edge guys. If they could stay it out one more lap, they would have.
One more lap. It would just been them.
They would have gapped everybody. I mean,
Here's coming out of pit
check
lane.
up for the incident. Yeah,
Gotta
so
be
here
close.
Yeah, it's just before this, and I know we apologize. This is just the way.
At Daytona, you get no breaks.
Incident. Yeah,
right there. Oh,
it was just before this. It's just before this because Gable's already lost his bumper. There is a side-by-side group at the front of the field here, but
Scott Crump, another driver off the front bumper of Scott Crump there.
Yeah, off the front bumper of Johnny, or Johnny off the front bumper of Crump, down into Gable. It's all the way into 3 here. Chris Wright, Norgard, and Scarborough have joined this front group. And yeah, there you go. You saw it.
If Pro Edge just stays out one more lap, it would have just been 5 cars.
Yeah.
4 cars. It would have been 4 cars racing for the win.
Oh, crash! Josh Clark sideways, Stanley and Clark into the wall hard. We might have our first caution, and we do. Oh, wait, do we?
No caution. No caution.
They're wrecked hard. There it is.
Caution's out.
Because Stanley's sideways in the middle of the track with a broken right side.
It came to a stop.
Man, this changes everything, and Josh, I'm not sure what they were doing here. They're fighting at the back of this pack, but Clark was not very keen on giving this one up, or Stanley was just trying to get underneath. But entering turn 1 here, it got a little hairy between Clark and Stanley. See, Clark merges over a lane to block the run by Chris Wright and Stanley, and Stanley tries to cut under Clark, and when he does that, it causes the first caution of the day. Right there. Just the slightest contact, the slightest misjudgment, and this late in the day with 170 green flag laps under your belt, easy to make a misjudgment like that. And then Clark's going to come back down and catch Stanley in the right side and send them both head on in the fence.
Oh, yeah.
Norgard's going to get some damage in this one. He didn't miss anything today.
The one bad thing for the rest of the field is that these lead lap drivers don't need a pit again, so there's no way for them to get back on the lead lap.
No, there's only one driver getting back in the lead lap, Gerald.
Only one lap, and that's gonna be Matthew Weeks.
It is the one guy who definitely deserved it. He deserved to be back in the lead lap. He held that spot for the entire race, it seemed like, since the very first pit stop.
So that will put us with only 16 cars on the lead lap. The rest of the field is going to be 1 lap down, but I have a feeling this has set up for a very, very intense and crazy scenario for the rest of the race, though.
Vital Ryan Gable to come get that damage fixed. Tate comes down pit road, but I mean, he'll lose some spots, but not very many. Chad will stay out. This gives Chad Frankenfield a shot. This gives Tyler Fody a shot. Andrew Rucker is now back on the lead lap. He's in this thing. Jordan Owens will be in this thing. Nick Massey will be in this. Justin Fortner's got a chance. This has changed everything, and yeah, I'm a little bit curious as to the thought process there for that 28 car. I mean, I don't know that you need to make that block in that situation. The worst thing that could happen is, your stranglehold on this race becomes much less intact.
It's mental fatigue. I honestly think it was that. He probably was not really paying attention to how fast they were gaining and just made a mistake. I don't see it any other way. It would have been anything more than just mental fatigue after racing 170 laps A green flag. That's over what, like 400 miles. Green flag. That's unreal.
It's a big number, and you know, definitely no like blame from us, right? I mean, we're definitely not the ones out there right now. That's a difficult thing to do, but you know, that split second may have just it changed the complexion of this race for his teammates. There's going to be a lot more aggression now. Tate Lytle obviously had an issue coming off pit road. He's come back down. He will not be at the front of the field with the teammates. It is just Ethan Burrell and David Tooker up there now. Matthew Weeks and Lytle will be fighting from the back of the lead lap, and you know, there's new faces with an opportunity to win this Daytona 500, and it starts with Chad Frankenfield, who got the video at the beginning of the race, and boy, those guys would be excited if Chad won. Huh?
We'd have to have another video.
I think so.
It'd have to be a really good video. But no, I mean, one thing I think that's very interesting to note is that we have not had a lot of cautions. Well, one, we have not had a lot of wrecks is what I meant. We have not had a lot of cars taken out of this race, so although we only have 16 cars on the lead lap, we would normally see that as, well, the rest of the field's wrecked out. That's not the case. We have a lot of cars a lap down. We have essentially 2 races going on. It's going to be the drivers racing for that lead and a race for that win, and the drivers trying to get onto that lead lap that are trying to go for that win if they can be able to accomplish that. So we're going to see very, very tough battling here because essentially there's no more need to come down pit road. The only way you're going to get back on the lead lap is one of 2 scenarios. Either you get in front of the entire pack and put yourself back on the lead lap the hard way, or race for that lucky dog. So all those drivers from 17th on back to 30th, 31st, are all essentially racing to do one of those 2 things.
Right, and just remember, you can definitely still pick up positions in this race. It could be very attrition based the rest of the way, right? 25 laps is a long time. These guys have to keep it clean and green. With this package with huge pushes, I have my doubts that we will be running any further long green flag runs to the end of this race. I think this is about to get very hectic.
I think a key thing I want to see is how many laps has Ethan Burrell led today?
Yeah.
At least 100.
Tate took a big chunk out of him there in that previous run, but yeah, Ethan Burrell's well over 100 laps led in this race.
He has to be over 100 at this point.
Yeah.
I think Pro Edge has probably led 150 of this race.
Easily, rather easily. It might be 160.
Yeah, and they're still leading. As the pace car is going to be coming off, we are going to have 26 laps left of this event.
Yep, pace car is off, and the interesting names that haven't had a chance since the very beginning of this race to make any moves: Chad Frankenfield, Andrew Rucker, Ryan Schold. They are off the back bumper of our front 4, and Ethan Burrell is the one who gets the big jump on the bottom, pushed by Jesse Racines. Ty McIntosh not able to get to his de facto teammate David Tooker here in turn 1 in the outside lane, falling apart a little bit here early on the restart.
Some of these drivers have not seen side-by-side racing for 150 laps. They're about to get back to racing side-by-side and pushing for a win here.
Yep, Josh Robin into the top 10. Jordan Owens into the top 10. On the bottom of the racetrack, working forward. Andrew Rucker working forward here as Justin Fortner's now into the top 10 as well. Just a number of names we have not called out because they have just not been near the front as Ethan Burrell heads to the top of the racetrack to get in line with David Tooker.
Oh, there's going to be a very hefty push here. Oh, they're going to have to check up.
Big run on the bottom for Jesse.
Jesse Racines able to finally lead a lap in this event out to the front with Chad Frankenfield and Andrew Rucker right behind him.
Yep, Rucker giving Sonny D a run, and how about Rucker and Chad up here running for the race lead? See if they can't avenge their long Daytona 500 drops. Chad got into Racines on the bottom. Everyone takes it. Evasive action, but Josh Robin is the one spun out on the back straightaway, and somehow no caution.
Still no caution. Right now, it's Jake Scarborough leading those lucky dog contenders. But
Scott
it is side by side.
No, it's Wadsworth. Wadsworth's first among the lucky dogs. Ty McIntosh lost ground on the bottom. Yellow flag is out because Robin's on the racetrack.
Robin decided to stay on the racetrack. He's probably going to get a penalty for that.
Wadsworth is going to be the one to get the lucky dog here. Lake Norman gets another bullet in the chamber.
Robin's absolutely going to probably get a penalty from that.
Yeah. And it was all the big stack up because Chad got into the 70 bad, and I don't think there's any fault there. Jordan Owens took evasive action to try and get away from Robin, and Richie Hearn then gets into Josh Robin, and that should have probably caused the yellow, and Robin goes to go grab one himself, it looks like. I think he might have just taken his hands off the wheel, feet off the pedals.
Yeah, but he waited because we're not stopped. This is live, and then he goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be probably a penalty on Robin there for stopping him, intentionally causing a caution.
We'll see what the penalty for that is from
That's
race
That's
control.
2 cautions that have involved Lake Norman cars, though.
Robin is Mountain Man Motorsports. I've said that like 4 times.
I will not acknowledge that.
Robin has ties to Lake Norman, and I believe they're in the chat together.
In the lobby with
he's that, but he will not have Lake Norman next to his name if we go through their running order, and that shuffled the outside line forward, and you'll see what it did to the running order. Tate Lytle up to 5th, Tyler Fode up to 6th, Justin Fortner up to 4th, Ryan Schold will restart 3rd, Racimus back to 7th, Chad back to 8th, McIntosh back to 9th, and then Rucker's going to pit and see if he's got any damage from the incident. Matthew Weeks will now enter the top 10.
That's horrible luck for Jordan Owens. You race to the point where it's all on the line. There's no more needing to nail a pit stop and do your pit stops just right. You stayed on the lead lap, which is better than what the majority of the field could do, and then you get involved in a wreck 2 laps into racing for real. And that's probably what is probably the most frustrating for some of these drivers.
Yeah. Owens will stay on the lead lap. He's fixing the damage on that 15 car for now. I don't believe he's got a... Yeah, he does not have a meatball flag. So Owens will be able to continue racing, presuming attrition coming from further incidents. But Burrell and Tooker did control that restart very well.
Big news. They did... I thought it was just going to be a penalty.
Wow.
But it was a little bit worse than that. They disqualified Josh Robin for stopping on the racetrack. That's more than I thought they were going to do, I'll be honest.
Yeah, definitely.
I thought like a
well.
I thought maybe a penalty, maybe a point penalty or
a lap hold. That's what I would have done.
Something.
Probably. Yeah, put him on the 1 lap down, guys.
Yeah, that's. I mean, with how many cars on the lead lap, that's essentially 36th position now. He's going to finish.
Yep, not tough for Josh Robin there, but yeah, again, that's kind of the crux of the rule. Don't go bringing up the caution on purpose, I suppose. But
well, that essentially put 1 guy back on the lead lap, and it took 1 guy off the lead lap. So we're still only going to have 17 cars on the lead lap. That didn't really take anyone in or out at this point. But like we said, that did give 1 driver the Lucky Dog Award. That's Justin Wadsworth, who went down early in the race. He went a lap down like on lap 50. He was one of the first ones to go a lap down before pit stops even took place. He had an issue and was able to stay up just on the lead lap enough to be able to get back up there. So great job for Justin Wadsworth to be able to have a chance now to go after this Daytona 500.
Yeah, Wadsworth was, I think, a lap down on the very first pit cycle, and he'll have to claw his way through all of the lapped cars, which will be a Herculean task, but it may, in fact, be the best thing for him. If they wad him up big here, he can potentially hang off the back of the field and miss that wreck and then take that track position himself. Let's re-rack I think we mentioned a number of the pieces of this starting order, but it will be Ethan Burrell and David Tooker again, separate on the lines, but I think Ethan Burrell will utilize the same strategy. Because, yeah, they've DQ'd Robin for the intentional yellow causing there. Robin said that he thought the car was stalled in the group chat over there, and I don't know if I believe him, but I don't know that penalty was quite as... and it needed to be quite as big as it was.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I mean,
it is what it is. This is the rules.
if you think of it like this, regardless, it affected the outcome of this race because it had broken up the pack again. There was a huge checkup, and it was essentially the guys at the front of the field were going to have a huge advantage, and now it's all gone away. So, I mean, it effectively changed the outcome of this race. So, yeah, I mean, if you put that into perspective, yes, I can see why they would DQ him. It's just it's one of those unfortunate events.
We're 3 wide here. Ethan Stanley's trying to get sorted out, and we do. Ethan Burrell leading David Tooker, Ryan Schold, and Justin Fortner, Little Eagle teammates on that second row. Green flag is back out. 23 laps to go.
Big checkup on the bottom lane on that restart, but they are able to get going. Question is David Tooker going to try to jump down in front of his teammate here? They are all, oh my gosh, there's a huge checkup here going on. Car on the inside lane.
Stanley's got still got some heavy damage. He's jumping out of this big pack. Doesn't want any part of it. Given the damage on that 91 car, probably for the best, is Weeks to the top of the track around Chad.
This time it matters. Getting to the front matters for Matthew Weeks. This is for the lead, and now Chad Frankenfield's going to be stuck in the middle. Oh, he gave a little shot to Weeks to get back up side by side with him. Chad knows he needs to get out of that middle lane, or he's going to get stuck there.
Chad's got some help. Jordan Owens in the middle. Ryan Gable to the middle. He's fixed the damage on that 0-1 car. He's behind Tyler Fody, his teammate. And the Lake Norman car suddenly breathed with some life after these cautions.
It's all up in the air now. Who's got the speed? Who's going to be able to get up to the front right now? We have about 21 laps left to go in this event. Plenty of moving around to still happen.
Joel pushing Ethan Burrell. Justin Fortner pushing David Tooker. Now Burrell abandons the bottom. Up in front of Tooker. And that outside line suffers a little bit as Tate Lytle shoves Ryan Schold towards the front.
Something that we haven't seen very much of. Blocking is starting to happen. Chad goes up to block Matthew Weeks on that third lane.
Ryan Schold to the race lead on the bottom with Tate Lytle in tow. If Lytle clears those Pro Edge teammates, he'll jump ahead.
Caution on the racetrack.
That is going to give Scott Crump the lucky dog. That is going to give Ryan Schold the race lead. We'll have to go find out what happened to draw this caution. I did not see anything on my screen.
Something with Corey Abbott.
Corey. Yep, Corey's got some significant right side damage. To go back and take a look at how that happened. He's got a dent in the rear of the 21 car. Norgard's pushing Carlos Acosta. This is all at the back of the field. You can see the checkup coming. Josh Personet's already way off the gas.
Yeah, why was Personet off the gas that much?
I don't know, but here's Richie Hearn into the back of the 21. That spins it sideways.
I'm wondering if...
right in front of his teammate, Brent Jones. Oh, no. And Corey's around, and that does draw the caution, and a very lucky break for Justin Wadsworth, who just got back in the lead lap, and he misses this wreck by a very minimal margin. And now Brent and Corey, Abbott Motorsports teammates, both with big damage and remain multiple laps down.
Yeah, I'm wondering if maybe the 18 got a bad push and lost some speed. I mean, that was a pretty good checkup for. They were essentially off the main pack.
That was more. I don't know. Maybe they just had a big run.
Why didn't they go to the outside?
I don't know. Carlos.
They came up on him fast.
Yeah, big run for.
And then they stopped.
Yeah, Carlos probably should have gone around.
Yeah, I'm not sure
why. There. Yeah. Maybe a little bit of inexperience in the back of the field. Maybe, a little bit of a misjudgment. They thought Personet had a little more speed than he did. Either way, Scott Crump back in the lead lap. He's clearing with the lucky dog right now. Another Lake Norman Chevrolet back into the fight in this race.
Now, they're not going to give anyone the tally, which I would agree with. I mean, it's not really Hearn's fault for that. No. I mean, they checked up like 10 miles per hour faster out of nowhere.
Not Hearn's fault. Don't blame Corey Abbott on that one either. Don't know that I blame Carlos Acosta on that one either.
He should have gone up.
he definitely should have gone up, but just
or maybe started brake checking a little earlier. Kind of one of those things that
Norgard was up his, he's right on his bumper. If you start braking any, you might be the one spun out. So
Tap the brake. Tap the brake. I mean, he braked. He still had the ability to hit the brakes pretty hard. He could have tapped the brakes. Yeah, well, it's our third caution now. They're starting to rack them up. Definitely not hurting. It's definitely hurting Chad's bottom line on the sheets, though.
Yeah, I envision that these will continue. The cautions are going to breed cautions. These are going to continue to come out. You have got to get everything you can early in these restarts, and with that mindset, these guys are going to breed more cautions and create more incidents because of the aggression level picking up, because the cautions are going to keep coming out. You're not really going to have 19 laps to go. You really are going to have them in 2 and 3 lap spurts.
We do appreciate everyone tuning in tonight to be able to watch this event. Every Wednesday night, we will be having these Elite Cup Series races. Give everyone a preview of what's coming up next for next week. Do you know?
Next week is Texas Legacy. They're running the 2009 Texas with these next-gen cars, and that should be a very entertaining race, because that is not a track that the actual next-gen cars have or ever will go to, given that Texas has been repaved. So that old Texas that kind of mirrored how old Atlanta used to drive, that should be a fun one.
I guarantee you, folks, after doing weeks of doing Daytona, you just feel very happy to leave and go to a different racetrack. So these drivers are going to be very happy to be going over to one of a lot of drivers' favorite tracks. I would say Texas Legacy, not the new Texas. Texas right. Legacy definitely is on the list of some of the drivers' favorite racetrack to be at. So it's going to be interesting. I don't think the next gen car has ever in real life ever been on Texas Legacy.
No, it has not. So that should be a fun little race for you guys to tune in for next week. And Tate Lytle, who's running second, said, that's when the season starts, right? Is race 2, Daytona, a little bit chaotic. It's worked in favor of Tate Lytle, Ethan Burrell, and David Tooker, those Pro Edge Toyotas, but they're currently following Ryan Schuld, who was the car in that tandem with Chad Frankenfield and Tyler Fode that ended up spinning Fode out. And Schuld was able to stay on the lead lap. Now he's taken advantage and rocketed to the front. Let's see if this 4 car has anything for these Pro Edge Toyotas here. And he's got some teammates. Chad Frankenfield in the top 10, Justin Fortner in 6th. Maybe the Little Eagle can get together and have something for Pro Edge here.
I think Ethan Burrell's very happy that the season starts now. He's got the pole, led the most laps, won stage, and got a lot of stage points in all of the stages. I think Ethan Burrell is gonna, if he can finish somewhere around at the top up here, he's very happy that the season started at Daytona.
Yep, Ryan Schuld leading him down here. That inside lane looking pretty close together. Green flag is out, and the inside lane gets a pretty big jump. Tate Lytle not super fast to the loud pedal here, but what that's going to do is allow Ethan Burrell to jump in front of Tate Lytle once they push clear of that 56 car. So was that calculated? I think it might have been very strategic by Ethan Burrell and Tate Lytle, working to get that Pro Edge trio that has dominated this race back together, and there goes Ethan Burrell up to the top of the track.
That is something that could have been seen from outer space. Ethan Burrell jumping in front of his Pro Edge teammates to lead that outside lane, where Pro Edge has been so dominant so far this race, riding right up there on the outside. Are they going to still be able to display the dominance that they had earlier in the race? Here comes the surge from the 4 and the 70 on the bottom lane.
Ryan Schuld, big push from Jesse Racimus, gets him back to side by side and equal with Tate Lytle, but that's not going to be enough. The way this Pro Edge trio has pushed and shoved up at the top has been so dominant. It's been so difficult for the inside lane to make a pass all race long. And that they continue to control with a very, very smart restart there, with the outside line lagging back. Now Tooker blocking that middle lane, side drafting the 70 car from third on the outside, preventing a big run. But really, it kind of tightened up that inside line, and now McIntosh giving the shove to the 70, which drafts the 4 forward. That might be enough, but let's see if Tooker jumps back down to that middle lane and tries to side draft again on that bottom.
We're coming up to 15 laps ago. When does the urgency come? It may be now. Here comes the 4. He's got a great shove from Jesse Racimus to be able to push him out front. Is he going to stay on the bottom lane, or is he going to jump up in front of Ethan Burrell? At the line, the 4 has got himself plenty cleared.
If he had jumped up, I think Ethan Burrell just would have gone where he wasn't. So you can't jump up right there. You got to rely on the car that got you there. Jesse Racimus, the car pushing the 4 up. Now Racimus to the top of the track. He's going to try to go to lead this Daytona 500.
Yes, now where does Ethan Burrell go? He's going to go right into the back bumper. It's going to be a pretty massive checkup on the bottom lane. Now it looks like the outside's going to have a resurgence, and now shooting to the front is Jesse Racimus.
When does Ethan Burrell make a move on Jesse Racimus here? That 37 shoves the 70 out, and now the
Caution's out.
waves. Racimus the race leader, and Pro Edge is going to be a little broken up here.
Caution.
Not sure where the wreck took place at.
Would have been at the back again, I believe. It is Dustin Dewar that is going to be in this one, and looks like Richie Hearn, Goodman, and more. Richie jumps to the middle.
Little net code there between Goodman
and Delicato was already on the apron. Was something happening in front of this group?
It looked like there was almost a checkup with Hanshaw up there too.
I think it was a checkup where
There's some. And Delicato was already on the apron. We're gonna have to, because the caution ends up coming from Dewar and Norgard. Yeah, there's the big check right there. Chris Wright into Hosak, into Johnny, into Hanshaw, and then
Hanshaw did a great job of being able to still somewhat keep it straight.
Jake Scarborough is going to get the lucky dog, by the way. Yeah, and that was the check, but this is not the wreck. The wreck occurred right there when Delicato came back up onto the racetrack, got Hearn into Goodman, and then Hearn came back down, and he and Delicato are going to take some pretty severe angles into the outside fence.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for Do Good right there for Michael Goodman. He's going to hit the wall, and then here comes another Do Good of Dustin Dewar going into the wall as well there.
Yeah, right as Jesse Racimus takes the race lead. So some good and some bad for Do Good here on this caution, where they lose 2 of their cars, but they do gain the race lead here with Jesse Racimus. Might have to go on board with like Indelicato here. Oh, Indelicato got pushed onto the apron by Norgard. Like 3 things happened all at once and then coincided in the middle of the corner, and that's where the wreck actually took place. Because it was contact between the 12 and the 10, contact between the 44 and 73, and contact on the 46.
From that angle, I can't tell if it was netcode or if Hearn actually made contact with him before that.
Yeah, and then the 3 of them in the wall, 2 more go into it. Carlos is going to have a really good view of this. I think that was it, though, because I think everybody else still slowed and stopped for this wreck. So I'd say let's maybe go on board with Carlos and maybe on board with Delicato. But yeah, let's do this one first.
Yeah, netcode.
Yep, how about that? But that isn't even the contact that wrecks him. Like that contact that Hearn makes into Goodman is incidental, but the only reason that they actually spin is because they run into Indelicato coming back up on the racetrack.
Yeah, that's why they called it a no tally mark. No one's going to be tallied for that wreck. It's just kind of a situation at the end of the race. These cars are pushing and they just check up pretty badly.
Yep. Yep, big into the wall. There goes Hearn, and then there's Dewar and Norgard clipping and running into the 10 in the wall.
That is going to put 18 cars on the lead lap, so we are slowly gaining more cars on the lead lap here. So now 18 cars are going to be racing for it. Some of them do have quite a bit of damage, like Ethan Stanley.
Dave, can we do Carlos's on board there?
Sure.
Through the wreck. I thought it was a pretty good view. We'll see if that holds true, but he's gonna get a bird's eye on everything on this one. You see it all playing out, and then Carlos is gonna have to take evasive action to the apron, and does a really good job holding on to the car despite that transition onto the flat banking. It's those 2 right in front of him also get wrecked. It's all 5 of the cars right in front of Carlos get into this, and he's going to keep it straight on the bottom.
What's that flag?
Peru, I think. Because Carlos is from Peru, so it must be Peru.
Is it Peru?
It must be. So, to re-rack here is Carlos. Carlos, get off the wall, buddy. We're talking you up. Jesse Racimus is the race leader, but he has got Ethan Burrell on the bottom of the racetrack behind him. Ryan Schold is running third. Tate Lytle is fourth. He'll be on the top, right in front of David Tooker, who is in sixth. In fifth will be Ty McIntosh. Then it is Andrew Rucker running seventh, and then Justin Fortner running eighth. Chad Frankenfield is ninth, and Tyler Fody will restart in 10th.
What I find interesting is Ethan Burrell left Do Good to go back to his team over there at Pro Edge, and Jesse Racimus was hired to take over Ethan Burrell's ride. So essentially, the old Pro Do Good car and the new Do Good car are at the front of the field right now.
Yeah,
I like how Jesse Racimus knew not to allow Ethan Burrell to have that outside lane with his three teammates and took it from him too. That's also very interesting to note that Jesse Racimus was like, "Nah, I don't want you lining up with them."
I think it's a good move. The problem is that those two behind him are certainly capable of shuffling that 70 car out.
We're going to be coming to 11 laps to go, getting close to the 10-lap mark here as things are getting heated up here. Jesse Racimus on the outside going to be starting it off and is able to get onto the loud pedal and get himself clear. Is he going to jump to the bottom? Or he's kind of in the middle right now?
Thinking about it, he's trying to decide. Ty McIntosh jumps to the top of the racetrack. So does Ethan Burrell in behind Tate Lytle. Another manipulated start there by this Pro Edge group, and here comes Tate to the top on Jesse Racimus.
That was not what you wanted to do as Jesse Racimus. He got too good of a start, and he allowed them to be able to form up. Now it's going to be Pro Edge on the outside. Right, oh, they're going to wreck.
Yep.
Chad Frankenfield and Rucker into the wall. Big wreck.
Yep, that was you could see that one coming from a mile away, and you know, when you stack the start up, you stack up multiple lanes, it just ends up causing a big wreck behind in this package. And you know, those guys swapping lanes, 3 or 4 different swaps, and ultimately it's when the 4 gets to the 70, it just checks that whole bottom lane up. And I guess Chad was already alongside Rucker 3 wide. There's
Rucker
not much you can do there.
Control there.
Yeah, and then Chad into Gavel.
Just got that bumper put back on and lost it again.
And Scott Crumpet just got back on the lead lap, and he's going to get damage in this.
Oh, Frank Fody into Chad pretty hard there.
Frank gets Chad. Rucker, I think, is going to come away with this fairly undamaged.
He still got the wall a little bit.
Got it a little bit, but I think he might be all right.
I don't think any of those drivers are going to be out.
Did Chris Wright get any damage in this wreck? Because he would be the lucky dog. If not Chris, it'll be Michael Hosak. Trying to see whether or not these guys are right involved in this wreck. So if they get any incident points due to the incident, Wright drives onto the grass right here. He ends up with. He's going to miss it looks like, but if he hits the grass coming back up, he does not get the lucky dog. I think he'll be okay if he can get onto the apron. I think it'll be Chris Wright getting back on the lead. Oh. I think they're going to give him the lucky dog, though. It looks like he's trying to get up by guys on the outside here. So I think Chris does get the lucky dog.
Hold on now. Mega's asking me. I'm being race control here. Hold on.
I'd give Chris the lucky dog. I think they should give it to him.
Let's see. So I have to go back to Chad. Yellow flag, full speed.
I don't think that's on Chad.
No, I don't think so. That was such a quick change of momentum.
That's not on Chad.
You can probably start up and look at Gold.
There's a group of guys that are really rooting for him, and that shouldn't be on Chad.
No. We are more than willing to give Chad fault when it's his fault. That's not Chad's fault. It's a product of this package right there. I mean, if you're really going to put placing blame on the 3 Pro Edge Toyotas, but
went up. I'll be honest with you. I honestly, from this angle right here, you'll watch. I think Rucker actually goes up.
Maybe a little bit, but I think the net code was already.
I don't think it's on Rucker either. But I'm just saying it's definitely not on Chad on that one.
Classic racing incident right there, Daytona type incident. And now you got 3 Pro Edge Toyotas at the front of the field with Tate Lytle, Ethan Burrell, and David Tooker. And then you've got Ty McIntosh running 4th, Justin Fortner 5th. Racimus falls to 6th after that restart. Tyler Fody will restart 7th. Gold falls to 8th. Jordan Owens rises to 9th. It looks like the damage is fixed on that 16 car. He's still pretty speedy. Matthew Weeks will restart 10th. He missed that wreck. Nick Massey restarts in 11th. Ruckers, lightly damaged 64, restarts 12th. Wadsworth will start 13th. Jake Scarborough dodged that wreck. He'll start 14th. And then it'll be, looks like the damaged cars of Stanley Frankenfield, Scott Crump, Chris Wright will start behind all the lapped cars. And then the first car off the lead lap is Michael Hosak in 20th. Another caution, Hosak gets back in the lead lap potentially.
This is what it looks like when the when the Sierra Desert just gets rained for a year. Caution after green flag for 170 laps. But again, this is when everyone is going to be not giving each other any room. Before we saw there was car length in between each driver. I don't think you'll see more than a foot now, and checkups are going to essentially what's going to be causing most of the incidents right now. It's just the massive checkups from these drivers hitting into each other and slowing each other's momentum, and of course the guys at the back are going to be the ones that get affected the most.
Right, and that's what we just saw right there was a lot of the guys who were involved in that wreck that were most simply not the cause of it, right? Like it was the racing and the drafting and the bumping up front, and that's what ends up initiating a multi-car crash that affects a lot of guys that were not involved in the making of it.
Well, we're going to have less than 10 laps to go. It's been 3 hours down. These drivers have been in these racing rigs. You know that they have to be a little sore. Racing all this time, all to come down to only a few laps to decide it. Who goes down into the history books and who gets forgotten? That's what we have to find out here in 7 laps.
Yeah, Ethan Burrell, or Tyler, I think it's Tyler Fody actually. He was talking to Ethan Burrell earlier, but noted that finishing second in the Daytona 500 is, I'm pulling up the quote to nail it down, there aren't many worse feelings than finishing second in the Daytona 500. I think that quote is best summed up with all of the cautions that we've seen of late. And nobody wants to finish second in this race.
Now the question really comes down is who has anything for Pro Edge? They have absolutely dominated this event here, and rightly so. They are right now in the top 3 positions and in the perfect spot to go about trying to dominate the rest of this event.
Yep, Tate Lytle will control the race here, but 2 teammates are on the bottom of the racetrack, and they've kind of played games to get their cars all lined up each restart. Let's see if Tate just drops down after the start-finish line this time. He does indeed do exactly that. Leaves Ty McIntosh out to dry up top.
Another thing that you could see from space happening. It's definitely going to happen. Now, here's the next thing they're going to do. They're going to jump up to the high side.
They're going to move right on up.
Coming out of turn 2, I guarantee you we'll probably see them jump all the way up to that high side lane.
Yep, Ty's got a big run. Racimus has shown a ability to push, and there they go.
From space, I tell you. From space. Oh, wait, there's 4 Pro Edge now. No.
Ty McIntosh back where he belongs.
With the Pro Edge group.
Tyler Fody, who has been one of the strongest pushers today, pushing Justin Fortner on the bottom of the racetrack. Can he move that 26 forward? Not working right now. Here comes Schuld down to the bottom.
We're going to be having 6 laps to go. Does anybody get that bottom lane moving?
Yeah, here come those little cars. Here comes Ty. Ty McIntosh to the bottom. Pushed by Schuld. Pushed by Fortner. Ford's on the bottom trying to work against these Toyotas up top.
Haven't seen a Ford out front. Oh, they didn't hook up just right.
Yep, and that's the problem with the Fords. Their noses are a little bit squirrely. Nick Massey's now stuck in the middle of the racetrack. He got shuffled out in that. Doesn't result in a wreck, but it does result in the death of this inside line. Racimus clears. Rucker clears. Scarborough about to clear to the top.
One of those drivers trying to see if he can get up there with his teammates is Matthew Weeks. He's stuck back there on that outside lane. Needs to try to see if he can be able to work his way. We've seen him be able to lead an inside lane to the front. Can he be able to do it again if he can be able to get clear of that bottom lane? We have some drivers trying to make it through the middle there. Nick Massey trying to make something happen.
Weeks continuing, but Scarborough blocks. Now Scarborough to the middle for 3 wide. He jumps in front of Matthew Weeks. He knows that 11 car's fast. The 4 and the 35 are hooked up, though, on the bottom.
Into the trash chute he goes. He goes straight to the back. Look how fast it can happen. You go straight back there as Matthew Weeks leaves him to dry.
Yeah, Weeks had enough space to get back up to the top, and he just abandoned Scarborough immediately. Unfamiliarity with that Daytona 500 rookie. Now Ty McIntosh trying to pull that inside line back. Johnny Thomas trying to make the middle line work behind.
These pushes are going to get even more violent as these race goes to an end here. 4 laps left to go. Can the Fords be able to hook up on the bottom lane? Can the Toyotas be able to continue the dominance on the high lane?
Yep, Ty McIntosh, Ryan Schull trying everything to get up to this race lead, but Tate Lytle has control of this race up on the top side, and those Pro Edge Toyotas have continued to dominate up front. McIntosh and Schull trying to push forward, but every push that they give is kind of responded to by Ethan Burrell, just shoving that 56 out in front.
It's going to be a question of who gets the right push at the right time. The question also comes down to it, does the Pro Edge stay loyal all the way to the end, or do they try to make a move themselves?
The only one that can, I think, make a move is Tucker. I think Burrell stays right there until coming off of turn 4, but if Tucker can clear down in front of McIntosh and lead that bottom lane, he may do that and try to just guarantee that Pro Edge wins via one of the 2 lanes.
You also have to wonder who's going to try to make that middle lane. You know that they're waiting until the end to see if they can be able to hook up. These cars can be able to tandem for at least a lap. So the question is, are they waiting until that lap to be able to do the tandem push?
Here comes Jesse Racimus down to the bottom.
He's going to be able to jump down in front of the 35. And now the 35 surges to the back bumper, Jesse Racimus. Can he be able to get back up to the front?
We haven't seen those Fords be able to push very well at all, and you see how squirrely it makes Racimus. Tate Lytle continues to lead 2 laps to go. Weeks to the middle on Rucker.
As this goes along, the less likely they are to wait to be able to line up the bumpers. The more they have to just guess if they're lined up. Here comes the 70, now being able to shot to the front.
Oh, that's
Is
huge.
he going to stay on the bottom, or is he going to jump up to the high
Ty's going
side?
to the top. Ty McIntosh to the top on Racimus.
Oh, they up!
They make contact, but Ty clears it. He stays in front of Tate Lytle. Ty McIntosh to the lead. Here comes Schull to the bottom.
Jesse Racimus jumps back down to the bottom, but he's going to lose so many positions. Here comes Matthew Weeks trying to see if he can get up. Oh!
Huge wreck
Big
behind.
wreck!
Ryan Schull has the lead over McIntosh. I think
It's the big
Fortner's
one.
third. And a huge wreck behind this group. That was all the lapped cars. I don't think anybody's going to be picking up a lucky dog here.
If it was going to be Johnny Thomas, but we'll see.
Oh, Johnny did make it through. Yeah, Johnny Thomas back on the lead lap. And yeah, it was this checkup because of the shifting of those lines. Chad Frankenfield's going to run right into the back of Jordan Owens and turn him head on into the fence right into Seth Rawls. Oh, maybe not. Well, yeah, Chad's just going to run into Jordan, I think.
Yeah, that one's on Chad now.
Yeah.
That one's on Chad now.
Yeah, and Jordan's going to get cut
He was
left.
not lined up at all with his back
Cut
bumper.
right. Rawls, Abbott, Dewar. Huge hits into the wall.
Frank Fody gets hit pretty good. Oh, the 9.
Chris Wright.
there. Chris Wright, after getting back on the lead lap, getting involved
He
in
might
that.
he might be okay. He might be too. Oh, Frank's going to go back into the fence. Did the 55 run into Frank and spin him out after that? Wait, let's take another look here. I'd say let's send it full speed, Dave. Just the big hits, and then
I think the race control wants to see what happened with Chad at real time. It was.
Bang.
I mean, was there a checkup? Yes, but it was in the middle of the turn, and there was quite a bit of a.
This one the
the checkup was gone and done with, and that was.
Yeah, Chad misjudged it, I think, and that's definitely a mistake on the 15. But yeah, a mistake, yes, but definitely. If I'm judging fault, I'm putting that on the 15 car.
Yeah, he didn't line up the bump.
Jordan Owens had kept it on the lead lap. He'd done a really good job, and he'll be able to stay in this, presuming the attrition again. It's very possible that he end up with decent finishes. You just got to keep going with this tank of a next gen car, but tough break. Carlos is going to miss another one, I think. It would be the second one in a row. Carlos just snuck by on. He's going to get into Chris. That's what it is.
Yeah, he loses the front bumper, I think. Yeah. He hits him pretty good with the right front.
Corey Abbott's done.
I'd like to go on board with Jake Scarborough.
Scarborough's gonna have a good
That
view
was
of this
a
one.
very good view of being able to.
Hanshaw snuck through this as well.
Because it all happened right in front of him.
On board here with Jake Scarborough for Shifty Sports. We had seen him running up there in the top, and he ended up getting shuffled back into this spot right here. And you see he's on the binders a little better, and those cars underneath him, those guys, Chris Wright, Carlos Acosta, they get into this wreck. Scarborough able to turn down off the banking.
Can't see anything with the sun and smoke. Not a thing you can see.
He's gonna make it through.
Does the 16 miss him when he comes down? Yeah. Wow. Whoa! the jump scare.
The debris coming through the window.
Jump scare of the bumper coming right at you there, but yeah, wow.
I think Joshua Personette is the one who actually got the lucky dog there. Johnny Thomas remains one lap down.
Well, this is going to set up a green-white checkered, and for the first time, there's not a Pro Edge in the top three.
Yeah, when the big push finally got there, that was all she wrote.
But we do have teammates going to be starting on that bottom lane. The 4 is the 4 in the I believe the 4 in the
26 are our teammates.
Our teammates, yeah. For Little Eagle, I believe.
Little Eagle, they are. So, yeah, Pro Edge with 4 cars in the top 8, but they're all from 4th on back there. So, yeah, definitely 4 cars in the top 8 because Tooker and Weeks are side by side there too. So, dominated this race has Pro Edge, but they have some competition now with those 3 Fords out front. Yeah, there's not a whole lot of time left to make these passes. I think you've got to team up where you are, right? Weeks has to work with Lytle, and Burrell has to work with Tooker. They can't be worried about getting the other 2 involved. They just have to work together in that lane, find a time to cut to the middle or cut underneath, and just go. There's nothing else that can be done.
Yeah. Again, the question is, do Little Eagle wait until the green flag to hit the gas, or do they time it to where they both get on the gas a little bit earlier? And now the question is, you've seen the dominance on the high lane, but they also took the lead on the bottom lane. So the question is what lane do you want to stay with? Because the bottom lane, it seemed like it had a good surge, but all race long, we've seen how dominant the outside lane has been. You know Little Eagle's going to try to work together to try to be able to go into one or the other, but which lane is going to be the fast one? That's some of these things that that maybe they would know more if there was more side-by-side racing rather than a 170-lap green flag run, that a lot of these guys just don't have the answers to right now, and that's what's going to set up this guessing game as to what's the right call here when it comes down to the end.
This feels much like a tandem race, right? From like 2010, 2011, when you didn't really want to be leading. You wanted to be surging forward coming to the checkered.
Pace car is off. We're going to be going back to green.
Potentially for the final time. Ryan Schuld on the gas first. Fortner does not get to him. That means they are going to be streaming up to that 4 car with a big run.
Yeah, the 4 got on the gas a little bit before the green, and it did not work out too well for him. But right now they are hooked up here on the bottom lane. We have about a 10-car split away here. Who's going to try to jump up to that very high side lane? It looks like
Fortner.
Oh, he goes away from his teammate.
Ty McIntosh looking middle, tight. Lytle looking middle. Tate's going to take the middle lane. He's got help from Tyler Fode. Ty's up top.
Oh.
Tate bounce off each other.
Now Tate Lytle's going to jump to the outside.
Tyler Fode working with Tate Lytle. Fortner jumps back to his teammate. That inside lane's got the run now.
Here they come. They're going to be coming to the white flag. It's going to be a race back to the finish if they get there.
Here comes Burrell to the top with push from Tate Lytle. The Pro Edge cars linked up on the top once again. Tooker now to the bottom of the racetrack all alone. It's Tate Lytle and Ethan Burrell against Justin Fortner and Ryan Schuld.
Who's going to have the momentum coming out of turn 2?
I think it's going to be that outside lane, but will Ryan Schuld or Fortner jump up to block?
Oh, they split apart a little bit.
They're squirrely. Here comes Ethan Burrell up top. It's a tandem race, 2x2. There's no momentum behind. Tate Lytle or Tyler Fode and Weeks don't have enough push. It's Burrell versus Justin Fortner.
It's going to be right there at the line. Who's going to be able to get it? Who's going to
Coming
be able
through
to
three.
duck out?
Tyler Fody to the top. He's not going to have enough. Ethan Burrell winning in Daytona.
Ethan Burrell wins the pole, wins the stages,
Oh my goodness.
leads the most laps, and completes the domination here for Pro Edge. Able to get it done back with his team at Pro Edge, and it didn't take long for him to find success.
What a finish. Let's definitely take a look at that. And it was the push by the Pro Edge Toyotas. The Toyotas just had more momentum, I think, on the push. The Fords seemed to get squirrely and down the back straightaway. Schold and Fortner could not stay hooked up. And then once those Pro Edge Toyotas got the advantage coming off of turn 4, it was all over. And let's take a look at the line. Right there. There's your margin of victory. It's 5/100ths of a second for Ethan Burrell over Tate Lytle and then Tyler Fody in the top 3.
3 Pro Edge in the top 4.
Yep. Matthew Weeks comes home 4th. Matthew Weeks comes home 4th. Justin Fortner and Ryan Schold finish 5th and 6th despite leading the white flag lap. Jake Scarborough rockets home in 7th. He followed Weeks and Fody up through the field there. David Tooker finishes in 8th. Ethan Stanley comes home 9th, with a very nice recovery drive despite being involved in those incidents. Jesse Racimus does take home a top 10 in the Daytona 500.
Incredible racing. It took a little over 3 hours, but one thing we did not see different was a 37 out front in a Toyota leading a race. That was something that was, for all 3 hours, very common. From the start of the race, it was all Ethan Burrell. They're going to have a heck of a time checking that engine, though.
Yeah, I mean, what's wild about all of that is that they lost the lead. They lost the lead multiple times on those late race restarts. They had every opportunity to have lost this race, and Tate Lytle finding Ethan Burrell, getting back to the rear bumper of that 37 car, and then giving him the push needed to close this thing out and win it as they've deserved all race long is awfully impressive. And a little bit of luck, but a little bit of that skill we come to expect, right? I mean, you look at the top 3 in this; they were 3. In fact, all 4 of our drivers who went 1, 2, 3, 4, those were our final 4 in last year's championship.
Yeah, well, maybe it's not all luck here at Daytona. Sometimes it does take some skill.
That is crazy, man. How did we manage to finish the season with those 4 up at the top? I think they finished 2 through 5 last year in the season finale. And then they go 1, 2, 3, 4 in a race where, while Ethan Burrell spent the most time in first, Tate probably spent the most time in second, Tyler Fody and Matthew Weeks did not necessarily deserve 3rd and 4th in this race. They were well back for much of the day. Fody was spun out on the back straightaway at one point.
Well, I'm going to give it back over to you, David. Wonderful job up here in the booth. Loved every minute of this. I'm so happy that we got to go live for this Daytona race. It was an amazing event, so thank you for having me. I got to head out here, but I appreciate Dave Huckleberry doing these shots from Daytona once again, as you've got some interviews going on here shortly.
Yep. Thanks, Gerald, and enjoy another kid, right? So enjoy that, and have a good time. We'll make sure to keep an eye on you. I'm sure we'll bring you back at some point this season again.
I will always be one phone call away.
Gerald Campbell, thank you for announcing that with us, and I'll jump into the interviews here. Let's grab Tyler Fody, our 3rd place finisher by a very close margin there. But Tyler, you texted me through that race. You were not real happy with a number of the events that were going on there. You got spun out once. You almost got spun out a second time. Take us through the first 170 and then what it took to get back to 3rd after that caution came out.
Yeah, dude, that was awful. That was so bad. The first green flag pit stop, we kind of got that front group broken away that I was in, and it seems like so long ago. I don't even remember exactly what happened, but Stanley, I think Stanley was pushing me, and it's kind of awkward out of 4 on the bottom, and just barely got me sideways, and I never lifted with it, but I lost enough speed, I guess, that I just missed that front pack, and then got back to the second group, which was pretty cool, honestly. I don't know how much was covered, but
we got it all, buddy. We had it. We were watching it.
I do got to shout out Chad and Ryan Schold there for that part of the race. We were having to work together, and it was really having to just sync the runs together, and took us a minute to figure it out. And then once we did, I mean, we were taking out some chunks. I think it started at 11 seconds, and I got it down to 5. And then I don't know if it was connection dropped for a second or what, but Ryan, I guess, kind of got into the bumper a little bit, and it just hooked me down the back, which was really unfortunate because I think we would have caught the leaders. And yeah, after that, it was like the worst thing I've ever been through ever, I think, just sitting there hoping for a yellow. And yeah, then we got it, and a lot of restarts, a lot of trying to get the right lane, and man, I thought we had a real shot there at the end. But yeah, I don't know. Needed a little bit, needed 100 more feet, and we might have been able to get it up there.
Yeah, you know, I guess the story of this race on our end was that duo that won the race, obviously, and then you know, their teamwork up there was. Did you guys feel like had you been able to get to the front, you could have controlled the race that way, or were they just kind of on a different level from you guys in terms of the push? I also kind of think it might be the Toyota nose. We saw the Fords could not seem to stick together, and it seemed like the Chevys and the Toyotas were a little bit better about the push there in the center of the corner.
Yeah, that could have been something to do with it. I mean, really, and we were talking about it early on. I mean, not to take anything from them, they did awesome. But they had most of their guys kind of already there, and we were kind of working from multiple like places in the field to finally get organized. And I want to say that first third, when we did have our numbers up there, I think it was like 4-4 between the two teams. We were both, you know, even pulling both the lines, which was really cool to see that. But yeah, we just never really were able to get everyone up there at the same time, and they did a good job there of keeping all their guys pretty much together. So obviously big advantage there, but they were definitely doing all the right things. And yeah.
Yeah, so you know, with that, a third place finish, a dual win, a really good start to the season, and another championship effort for you. And as you turn your attention forward towards Texas, you know, are you excited, ready for the season, or you know, is this a little bit of a it's somewhat of a disappointing result, but you know, you thinking this is a championship type season, we can go out here and lay down some really good results here.
Yeah, obviously you feel good about the season. I don't know. Depending on who was going to win that, I was going to be more bummed. But honestly, to see Burrell like win that, with all the times I've seen him second and third in this race and second in the championship, it's like Burrell is just. He always seems like he's one spot short of the big races and the big stuff. And so to see him to win that's pretty cool. I know it's super special for him. I think the first time anyone's won from the pole. So that's neat. So, yeah, no, shout out to him. He definitely deserves it. Shout out to all those guys at the front there right at the end. I mean, even Weeks gave me a good shot to try and get up there. But, yeah, no, it was great racing from everyone all around up there.
And any more shout outs for us here before we send you off tonight?
Yeah, just the Lake Norman guys. We had a run there for a little portion of the race where we were together and working the lines and leading laps. Like I said, just never really got it to sustain. Kind of had some people in wrecks and losing the draft and through the pit cycles got broken up there. But obviously big shout out to all those guys. And JD Designs, Jonathan Cutlip for painting all the cars. And then you guys for being up here and sitting through that with us.
All right, Tyler. Well, congratulations on P3. I know it's not what you were looking for tonight, but good luck the rest of the season, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, man, appreciate it.
That's third place finisher Tyler Fody. Let's grab second place finisher Tate Lytle. And Tate, after all of that, you do come home second to your teammate, but you know, after the way you guys controlled the race, it seems like that was a pretty good result, one that you guys were looking for here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, we controlled. I was just looking. Looks like Ethan led 120 laps, and I led 50. And I think of those 120 laps, I was probably pushing him 110 of them, and he was probably pushing me 40 of the 50 that I led. So it was we definitely controlled the race, and I don't know. I don't. I think the only thing I could have really done differently on that last lap is throw it to the outside when Fody went to go around me and hope that I got that push. But I wanted to make sure that one of us got it, because it would have been a shame if we lead all those laps and one of us doesn't get to park it in victory lane. And I know that this is a big date for Ethan. It's the anniversary of a life-changing event of his a couple years ago. So I think it means a lot to him to get that victory. So glad he was able to do it. Obviously, me and Ethan have been friends for a while. We've I've been to his house. We went to the actual Daytona 500 together. So it's pretty cool to be working together like that. But yeah, long race really wasn't as long as it could have been. Those first 170 laps went green, but gotta thank Brent Wednesday's gone by. He's on the car again for I think the 8th consecutive season. Shout out to my dad if he's still listening. I know I think him and my little siblings watched that entire race. So if Jack and Louise are still watching, shout out to you guys for watching a fake race for 3 hours. But yeah, I don't know. There's not a whole lot else I really could have done there. Pushed the hell out of Ethan that last lap, and thankfully one of us got to park it. I was doing burnouts on pit road. I was like, I feel like I won this race too. So
Yeah, so I guess
good fun race.
yeah, that's awesome. And I guess my further question regarding the race itself would be, when you guys kind of fell back a little bit, was there ever a point at which you were like, I don't know if one of us is going to be able to get back up front, and then when Ethan jumped up in front of you, were you like, all right, now we're okay, we've got this?
Well, I was in 4th, so I was still a pusher, so I didn't feel like I was out of it. I know that Ethan and Tooker kind of felt like they were out of it, and Ethan's like, man, we're chalked. We're stuck back here in 5th. This is coming to the green white checker. And I told Ethan, like, anything can happen. Anything can happen. He's like, yeah, that's true. That's true. And it kind of just worked out to where he got to got to the outside right in front of me, and I had a head of steam with Fody, and I mean, we were able to. I mean, we were going. That was probably the fastest lap of the race, I'd say, pretty close at least. So we were cruising on that last lap, man. It was. I don't think we could have really executed that race a whole lot better.
Gotcha. Well, we would agree with that up here. And I guess looking forward, Texas Legacy next week. You excited to go back to the old Texas, throw the next gen car on it, and see what happens?
Yeah, I think I'm undefeated at Texas Legacy, so hopefully we can go keep that going and extend the points lead that me and Ethan got there. We've got quite the quite the margin at the moment. So yeah, hopefully we can go have a good run. I don't see why we wouldn't, but I mean, it's racing. It all comes down to circumstance, and thankfully the circumstances were on our side tonight.
Gotcha. Well, you already gave us your shout outs pretty much, Tate. So good. Thank you for coming and interviewing, and your congrats on the second place finish. And we'll probably talk to you next week, given that it seems like you never lost there at Texas.
Yeah, hopefully. Also, shout out to my mom. I think she was watching too. She doesn't watch very often, but I told her that I was like, this is a pretty big one. So if you get bored, throw it on. So I think she ended up doing it. So shout out to her. She's watching too. And obviously shout out to Ethan. I'm sure he'll talk to you, but
yeah,
cool.
We'll go get him. Yeah, a good team win there for Pro Edge and for Tate Lytle, who finishes second in this one by 5/100ths. Let's grab race winner Ethan Burrell here and pull him up. And Ethan, congratulations on the Daytona 500 win for starters. A long race, but one that you absolutely dominated. And I'm sure you got some fellas to thank that managed to drive behind or in front of you for a majority of this race. But yeah, take us through it and those initial thoughts after winning this race.
Dude, I'm honestly in shock. This is by far the biggest and best win I've ever gotten, and I've been on here for 10 years. Yeah, big shout out to Tate. I mean, the whole team worked good all race. We got tired of getting beat by the Lake Norman guys at these plate tracks, and nothing against them at all. I mean, they just did everything right all the time. So we just stayed committed to working together, controlling the top line all race. I thought that last restart, I thought I was buried there, third row on the bottom, but they got squirrely up high, and I barely got clear, and I had to take that move in front of Tate. And even hearing you say I dominated Daytona is just crazy to me, because usually I come in here and it's far from that. So yeah, I can't believe it, man. I'm in shock, honestly.
Tate said you led like 120 laps and you won a stage, finished second at the other stage. I mean, we talked to you before the race. I'm not gonna lie, I can't remember what you said. It's been a minute, but
Oh, I said a little bit of skill, a lot of luck, and some guts or something like that.
yeah, my wager would be that was quite a bit of all three of those things. I think you guys, it seemed like, could not be passed until the very, very end there when those two Fords got past you. I mean, I guess, was there anything you guys were doing, or were you just locked together, hooked up, working with a very comfortable teammate there? And anything else you have on that? Because honestly, I mean, we've been talking about you guys for like 4 hours. There's not a whole lot more we can say.
It's honestly, I think the biggest factor is chemistry. I know I can push Tate as hard as I possibly can make the car push him anywhere around the track, and I know his line is going to be fine. It's up to me pushing him. And honestly, David Tooker was probably my best friend all race, just pushing me. I mean, I know I trust him to hit me anywhere around the track. And this package too, there's a lot of side draft, so we would just kind of control the outside, not let anyone get outside of us. And if that inside line got a run, I mean, you could see we'd stack 3-4 cars deep, just wide open, pushing each other. So we were just making it as impossible as we could to let them clear us. And they did get us a couple times, like that last time when the Fords came around. I was about to blow up the motor. I mean, I had to back off, and they got by us. But yeah, man, it's just teamwork above everything. I owe so much to those guys for this race. It was incredible how we worked together.
Gotcha. I'd even throw your buddy Matthew Weeks in there too, right? When he was
That's
up
right.
there leading you guys, saving fuel for the lead lappers. But and he came back to finish fourth. So yeah, a really good day for your entire team. Looking forward, Texas Legacy, right? And you are locked into the playoffs based on race win. Buddy, you got this monkey off your back, and then last year Matthew Weeks won himself a Daytona 500 and a championship. Is this your year?
That's right. I'm hoping so. This was the first time I came into Daytona with my hopes low for being able to win it, and then I won it. So I'm just gonna go race by race, race my heart out. I know I can make it to that final stage. I just I got to get there again and just figure out how to execute this time.
I got you, buddy. Well, any shout outs for us here before we send you off tonight?
Yeah, shout out my mom and Betty, my wife Rachel for watching, all the guys at Pro Edge. I mean, we put on a great race today. Everyone worked great together. Shout out my best friend Austin, and I got to mention I didn't want to say anything to hype myself up, but today is the 5-year anniversary of my dad passing, and he was a huge fan of watching me race an elite. He was a big Chad hater too, so that was even better. But so I just I want to dedicate it to him. I know he'd be proud of being able to see me win the 500. And shout out to you guys for everything you do for these broadcasts, man. This was a really special night for me.
Yeah, I agreed, and he definitely proud after this one, man. A dominant win for Ethan Burrell, and congratulations on it. And go to have fun celebrating tonight with your team, buddy.
All right, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
That is, brought him back. That is Ethan Burrell, race winner there for Pro Edge Racing in that 37 car. And we've been scrolling through all the race results. I don't know that we need to go through it here. It's been up there for the whole way for you guys to see. It's getting late. We'll throw it off here now. And for David Wetsergreen, David Huckleberry, that was the Homeplace Brewing Daytona 500 for the Belly Up Cup Sports Series. Tune in next week. We're going to Texas Legacy, throwing the next gen cars on a track they've never or never will race on. So come see what we got there. But for everyone here at Elite Racing Network, have a good night. We'll see you next week.